Good morning and welcome to the 14th Annual Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Summit! It's a gorgeous day in Santa Monica. We'd like to give a huge shout out to our hosts here at the beautiful La Meridian Delfina. We want to thank them for the delicious food, the wonderful meeting space, and of course that beautiful view. Now up on the screen right now, you're going to see today's Wi-Fi password. Our Wi-Fi password for today is SM Summit 23. So don't go over that data plan. Save your dollars, SM Summit 23. Now, speaking of that view, today we encourage lots of photo taking. If you witness someone doing something kind, grab a photo of that. You're going to hear a lot more about kindness today. Grab some photos with your friends and peers in front of our step and repeat in the lobby, with your ringers off, of course, if I didn't already remind you of that. And when posting on social media, please use the hashtag SMSummit23, just like our Wi-Fi password, but with a hashtag. And now, to kick off today's Tourism Summit, please welcome to the stage the chair of our Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Board of Directors, Mr. Neil Carey. Neil has been a resident of Santa Monica for over 43 years. His work with our Police Activities League and the Chris Carey Scholarship Fund has helped countless youths achieve their education dreams. He's sat on or chaired over 28 nonprofit boards and committees. When he's not a champion of civic duty, Neil is an avid tennis player. And howdy, y'all, you may not know this, but Mr. Neil Carey is an active member of the Country Music Association. Welcome, Neil Carey.
Thank you. There was a time I didn't have to wear these to read. So I want to thank you and good morning. On behalf of the Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Board of Directors and staff, it is my honor to welcome you to the 14th Annual Santa Monica Summit. As you notice, all around, there's a message of kindness. As someone who has prided himself on giving back to others, most especially my Santa Monica community, kindness matters now more than ever. You'll hear more about kindness today from our mayor, Gleam Davis. I'm also looking forward to hearing from our city manager, David White, and our police chief, Batista, who will give an update on the very important efforts and city and Santa Monica Police Department. It's going to be a great program. Does that music mean I should stop? Right. Before I introduce the TMD Committee and Board of Directors, I'd like to remind everyone of the vision and mission statement of Santa Monica Travel and Tourism. It's why we're all here today. I think most of us agree that Santa Monica is a premier beach city destination in the world. It is our mission to strengthen our local economy by enhancing and promoting our community as a distinctive, compelling, and welcoming travel destination. I'd like to turn your attention to the screen and introduce the Santa Monica Tourism Marketing District Committee. The committee oversees the very important programs and services the hardworking team at SMTT produces every day. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm very proud of the group of people on this next slide, my peers from the Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Board of Directors. I know they would agree with me when I say the work that is done by the Santa Monica Travel and Tourism team is so important to this community. I thank all of them for their service, so let's give them a round of applause. And I would like to ad-lib a little bit to say that I've done a lot in this community, but the staff at Santa Monica Travel and Tourism is clearly the most outstanding staff you can put together under the leadership of Misty. It's just a pleasure to be on a board with such wonderful people. So let's give them an applause. It's now my honor to kick off today's program by presenting our keynote speaker, Carolyn Butita, from Vista, California. As she makes her way to the stage, please enjoy the short video which will tell you about California. Visit California. Thank you.
Gotta think about it, gotta dream about it, gotta find a way to do the things that make you feel good. If you go to Canada, dream I never got to know. I'm growing on up at my best, and I don't like to be alone. And if you go, just spread your wings, and I never had to grow. You are never ever out there on your own. Oh. Gotta think about it, gotta dream about it, gotta find a way to do the things that make you feel good. Gotta think about it, gotta dream about it, gotta find a way to do the things that make you feel good.
In California, childhood rules.
Let's go down the valley places I've never been. Ride a Sunset Boulevard with a top down for the scene. And if you wanna join the ride, we'll be perfect on the screen. I never gave up on my California dreams. Now I am all the things I've done. I am all the things I want. Gotta think about it, gotta dream about it, gotta find a way to do the things that make you feel good.
No one does it better than Visit California.
If we use the lesson we learned during the pandemic, we have a transformative opportunity. Because when we work together, we can meet what's possible.
Find a way to do the things that make you feel good, love.
Always great to be back in Santa Monica. I had a wonderful stay last night. I was telling the mayor I even went out on the balcony just to take in the fresh marine air. That's amazing, and was looking forward to waking up and seeing the ocean. Not. I can say that being a native Southern Californian and spent a lot of time here in LA, having went to our community colleges of UCLA and SC just down the road. So anyway, nonetheless, it's great to be back. I was also saying to Judy, this is one of the best events around the state. I'll be talking about the fact it's National Tourism Month, so I even have remarks this afternoon in Sacramento making my way around. So I see them all, and congratulations to Misty and her team for gathering the community. It is truly an honor to have the opportunity to address you guys almost every year. So great event. I wish I was staying like I have in the past. I even packed my flip-flops. No beach this time. I think it was a good call. You guys have like some sort of divine communication, like let's not do the beach with our extra layer of marine air this morning. So anyway, I have three key headlines for you all today. All good news. It's great to be speaking about what our post-pandemic environment looks like and beyond. Tourism definitely has bounced back. I hope that's the case with all of you in the room. We've been doing, like Santa Monica, resident sentiment surveys. So we're really seeing the fact that, with every horrific situation, the pandemic, there is a silver lining. And what we've seen is residents statewide really have understood the importance of tourism in their community, particularly when it just disappears overnight. So that's great news. And of course, the global program of work is really helping to drive demand for California. I'd like to thank the governor and our legislative leadership for that and the $95 million in stimulus Visit California received and put it all into media to really kickstart the reopening of California. It's working, and you'll see that in a minute. I also want to say and acknowledge our board of directors. Many represent businesses right here in Santa Monica that 37 board members really help to keep us focused on momentum on behalf of all of California. And of course, Misty Kearns, who sits on our Destination DMO CEO Council. She also sits on our Marketing Advisory Committee and was a founding member of our Professional Meetings and Events Council, a big first for us as we moved into that space at your request, frankly, coming out of the pandemic. So couldn't do it without her. Glad she's joining us in Europe for our European sales mission, the CEO mission coming up in a couple weeks here. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So for those that perhaps are new, I think it's important to talk about kind of where we sit in the ecosystem and what is Visit California's unique value proposition, because you have such a great local DMO really putting a spotlight on Santa Monica. And our job really is to cast the net far and wide and drive top of mind awareness globally amongst consumers. Do what the industry can't do for itself. So a lot of our marketing, almost half of it, is focused on international markets and long haul domestic to drive demand. So we sit traditionally upper funnel at the inspiration level and then work with our destination partners as those visitors are thinking and hopefully selecting California. If you're a resident in the UK and you can go anywhere in the world, if they're not thinking about California, they're never making it here to Santa Monica. So that is kind of how we work and do this handoff. But you, the suppliers, you represent the brand delivery. I call it the golden triangle at the bottom. That's the transaction. You actually have to deliver on the promises that we make in terms of our key messaging strategies. So we have started to work lower funnel too as digital media becomes more prominent, particularly with our key market segment, millennials, for example. But most of our resources go into branding, and you're going to see a lot of that today. Real quick first, as I said, the good news is that we try to shine a spotlight on the benefits of travel and tourism nationally. Communities all over the nation are doing events like this, and so we will continue to do that throughout the month. But we kicked this off, I just want to note, in Los Angeles at LAX. I think it was a week ago. I've lost track of time. But great press conference. First time I've ever done a press conference in an airport. That was interesting in terms of continuing to talk over. It was at the international terminal, as a matter of fact, but got great media coverage. I mean, it's amazing what's going on at LAX as your feeder airport. But really, again, just getting that message out to residents, really our target's the residents around California. So with that, our key messaging is tourism is definitely rebounding and recovering. You can see here that spending topped $134 billion in 2022. Those were the numbers we just released last week, which really means we're about 93% of pre-pandemic 2019 spending. So in 2022, we were almost there. 2023, California is definitely recovering and exceeding those numbers. Of course, the tax revenue at almost $12 billion is important, as well as direct employment at over $1 million. Los Angeles County also doing very well for 2022. Actually, visitor spending just notched over that line. So recovered in terms of spending. Not quite on the tax revenue, and on the tax revenue, just a ways to go, but on par with jobs. So really glad to see the jobs are coming back into this very important industry. One of the things that I really admire about our industry during the pandemic was the fact that our industry took that time to have a building renaissance. I mean, if you haven't been to California, this will be my message next week at our largest trade show in North America, IPW. And that is, if you haven't been to California before 2019, you really haven't experienced it. We built 124 new hotels, millions and millions of dollars with additional hotels on renovations. The attractions spent multi-millions of dollars on new product, and of course our airports, billions of dollars and infrastructure. So that'll be my key message in a press conference I'll be doing next week, is California is rolling out the red carpet with all new experiences. Visitation forecast, just looking ahead a little bit, you can see from that blue rectangle, this is like a double click on what I just said. So the yellow bars represent the leisure travel category, orange representing business, and blue representing international. So fully recovered in 2023, California. And then you can see the orange and blue, a couple sections down in 2025 is when we're looking at recovery. And that's the leg we're experiencing in our gateway communities because they're so dependent on international and the meetings business. Certainly getting there. Actually, recovery is happening a full year ahead of schedule of when we originally predicted. Stimulus certainly is a big part of that. This slide, I'll just explain to you this next one, because even I, the first time I looked at it, said, what? I'm not sure, but I love it. And really the bottom line on this is you're looking at full recovery in Canada and Mexico and the UK. The offset is China. We're only 49% recovered. That was our biggest international market, spending about $4 billion before the pandemic. But even at 49% recovered, that's still bigger than any other international market. That's really the crux of that slide. I would say a postscript to that, as we are all woefully watching perhaps a recessionary climate looming ahead. The good news is, given that our Asian markets, along with China, are not fully recovered, even Australia is just starting to come online, we will have some extra spending power coming out of those markets as they come online, even if we hit some of those recessionary clouds, so to speak. So I think we have a really strong forecast for the next year. Just getting into the marketing, we spent a lot of time also during the pandemic doing international focus group research and domestic. We're always reevaluating our key and core communication strategies, what is truly our brand, how we're perceived around the world, so that we can appropriately rechannel that to prospective visitors. And so I want to start here. I'm sure these are like brand statements of how people perceive us, and frankly, our own ethos, how we live. This, I hope you will agree, describes who we are in terms of this incredibly diverse and welcoming environment. We've got this great playground outside called the beach, and I think that combined with this embarrassment of riches creates this incredible entrepreneurial spirit that powers the 5th largest economy in the world. So we take this perception and positioning of brand at the highest level of California, and then we bring it down into our ecosystem to drive what is our key communication. So with that, we are migrating to traditionally what we own, and what we own truly is being this incredible diverse state with endless bounty and abundance and limitless possibilities that we want to share with the world. So this is our new brand video, and I'll share it with you.
California is a famously playful place. Throughout its history, this golden state of beaches, mountains, deserts, redwood forests, charming towns, and urban wonders has been known as a playground for the free-spirited and the fun-loving. From top to bottom, it's as big as a state could get and filled with every adventure imaginable. Here, you can ski fresh powder in the morning and surf perfect waves before dark. California has an up for anything attitude. So no matter what comes out of that fun-filled brain of yours, you doing you has our full support. Welcome to California, the ultimate playground.
Stating the obvious, I think Santa Monica is the perfect embodiment of that, and look forward to more planning and synergy going forward. So you can see that on this slide. This is what drives our strategic level of communications. In terms of how we are activating on that, I'd like to turn to what we have is a multi-layered channel strategy on the brand level that started really with stimulus, creating key messaging aligned with our core brand tenets and experiences. So urban and culture, outdoor experiences, many others, road trips, for example, attractions, family. That's the development we do in terms of creative assets is meeting the consumer where they are and what type of experience they want. So you can see we have 3 different layers on the brand front, as well as a dedicated urban core campaign. That has been our priority, spending $22 million in media throughout the fall and this spring to bring back the urban core experiences. Search engine marketing is foundational for us. That is critical, and it's an always-on strategy. And then, of course, the meetings layer at the bottom is really, if I had to only have one slide, this would be it. I mean, this is really where the majority of our funds are spent, targeted at the brand. Of course, we have social and trade. I'll talk a little bit about that. But starting with what we produced for Super Bowl, the pregame program, and having to have the challenge of producing a creative asset that worked exceptionally well in a Super Bowl environment. I only tune in for the commercials. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm in the kitchen during the game so I can get back for the commercials. And then have the legs to actually work an environment post, Super Bowl for a 23-month creative schedule. So with that, we brought together one of the best directors in the business to create a dreamscape of our key actor, really wondering if she's dreaming or if it's reality. You'll see that here. And thanks to Misty and our friends at Lowe's/Regent, you'll see the end postcard is the delivery on that brand promise right here in Santa Monica. It's absolutely amazing. So let's run Am I Dreaming?
Alex, run!
Shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like a there's no stopping me.
Nice dress.
200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic woman of you.
Alex!
Was I dreaming?
No, you're in California.
There it is, Santa Monica. So maybe perhaps one of the other things you noticed is compelling music. That really, we dug into that strategy as being part of the primary asset of celebrity is music. It's so emotive and compelling. So you'll see that also in our next 2 creative assets. Just produced a whole new family campaign entitled Childhood Rules. Also many shots here in LA, again with that Urban Core Recovery Initiative in mind. It's doing exceptionally well. We just premiered it in late February, but we go in right away and look at social sentiment and monitoring, and it's performing one of our best assets so far. So let's check out Childhood Rules. You'll see that the children and the parents on vacation, kind of playing separately and having the time of their lives, and then they meet up, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Ugh, parents. In California, childhood rules. The family fun starts at visitcalifornia.com.
So we're just beginning down that path. Isn't that fun? At least I didn't see anybody clear out like, let's just go now. Maybe this one will do it too. I love this piece. So road trips are interesting. You know, they were very popular going into the pandemic with millennials, and then they just went off the charts, right? That's how we could stay within our family unit and appropriately social distance. And lucky us in California, world-class, you know, scenic drives from north to south. So we launched this campaign, but went back into production to anchor it with our gateway cities to really attach that long-haul domestic traveler as well as the international traveler. So giving them ideas of this hub and spoke effort. And for those that are in my age demographic, perhaps you will recognize the very popular toe tapping music. I'll leave it at that.
Come on, get your motor running.
You just head on the highway.
Looking for some tacos.
And whatever comes our way.
Yeah, darling. Go make it happen.
Mi amor, take the world in a love embrace.
Explode into space.
Start your California road trip at visitcalifornia.com.
Okay, saw lots of smiles. I still love that song. I hear it, 100 times a week, but it never grows old. So, after we're casting that net and driving that demand at that strategic brand level, we still want to capture them and make sure we have them for our very own vis-a-vis our competitive destination. So our own channel network, we've invested heavily in over the last 5 years. We actually have 22 million followers in our own channel network. It is a major global network now where we have media companies coming to us wanting to partner. And we look at it as a portal strategy because now we're moving past inspiration planning, and I want to do that handoff to Santa Monica and our communities. So we look at that from a KPI standpoint as it's time for them to really experience Santa Monica. And last year, there was 475,000 page views for Santa Monica. You can see 10,000 qualified leads. They're linking off our site or our own channels directly into Santa Monica. We definitely love Santa Monica. We did 60 different social media posts and 125 media placements. I think our media teams are on the phone coordinating daily, if for sure weekly, to bring in influencers and journalists right through this area. So very important part of the strategy is then handing them off, and you're fulfilling the dream. You have the hard part. So thank you for delivering on that brand promise. Again, just a note on meetings. We were not in the meetings market for the last 20 years. It's competitive between communities in California, but given that we took the safe route nationally, during the pandemic, we were the only state at one point shut down entirely for meetings. It was time the industry came together. Crisis is collaborative, I say. It's, competition should not be looked at from the prism of a crisis. Came together and said, let's amplify that California is open for business. And so you can see that we did that through a brand effort targeted at meeting planners, trade shows, and then education and engagement, bringing meeting planners back into California to experience them. It's been tremendously successful. We've seen a 69% increase of meeting planners wanting to book California if they've touched any 3 of these strategies. And so successful that the board voted to approve another $5 million to promote California meetings this year. And as long as the industry needs that, I can anticipate that the board would be there for them in future years. So we have a full-on global meetings initiative. And then finally, I just want to close with international for a moment. This year also was the year of international. We opened all 13 of our international offices in the past 12 months. You can see from the shades of blue, the dark blue represents our primary markets where we're running direct to brand, being Canada, Mexico, and the UK. That mid shade, I may change the slide afterwards. I can't tell the difference. I can only imagine you. Oh, it's much better on the big screen. Okay, well, kind of. Anyway, so we have 3 strategies: direct to the consumer, co-op digital is our tier 2 markets, and then tier 3 markets are developmental, doing research, travel trade, and PR. And this represents about 85% of all inbound international travelers. So we try to keep it concentrated. Yes, we could be in 30 markets around the world, but then the resources get thin and they're not effective. So we are focused here on these primary, secondary, and tertiary markets, and thrilled that Misty will be part of this DMO CEO mission coming up. Actually, it's a CEO mission. We have more than DMOs on this trip. That's very important. Europe is doing very well, so we're primed to really amplify that coming out of the pandemic. Started with Mexico last year, and look what happened. We became #1 in terms of recovery. So they do work, they're effective, they're just very labor intensive. So I'll close with partner opportunities. We love new product. I mean, that's what we will be. We will be in full sales mode next week with 2,500 global buyers of travel product as well as media. And so we want content. We want to keep the destination fresh. It's a competitive environment, and we are out there talking about what's new constantly, particularly next week. Program updates as well as co-op opportunities. So check it out at our resource page that you can see on the next slide, which is industry.visitcalifornia.com. I'll hold it up for a minute for those taking pictures. A lot of research information as well, just lots of connection and opportunities there. Again, thank you so much for today and being here and having the pleasure of working with Misty and her team. Love the opportunity to promote Santa Monica, particularly because it was my backyard for half my life. So there you go. Okay, well, have a great tourism day. Appreciate it.
Wow, please give another warm thank you to Carolyn Battetta for that fantastic kickoff of our summit. So much great information. We'll be sharing that link to the Visit California site as part of our post-summit materials. We can't thank Carolyn enough. She's such a great partner, not only for the state, but specifically to Santa Monica. She does so much for us.
There are so many things that are unique about the Pico neighborhood. We have the beautiful Virginia Avenue Park. There's a farmer's market on Saturday mornings. The business district is the longest one in the city. It goes all the way from the city border to the beach. And it has the highest percentage of service businesses that help the local community in addition to the tourists. So we serve both of those groups all day long, every day. We have so many new and interesting, fun businesses. There have been 20 new merchants on the boulevard. They're all small businesses. There are unique and vibrant, wonderful places to explore, walkable neighborhoods, and so many fun things to find out about here on Pico. When you drive through into the city, at Centinela, you're greeted by a beautiful garden. And after that, you see numerous beautiful murals. Even the electrical boxes are painted now. This is an amazing place to visit. We offer interesting, engaging, fun experiences no matter what you're looking for. We're family friendly. We have every kind of entertainment you could look for, all the way from Centinela to the beach. So we hope to see you here.
Good morning, Santa Monica. I am so pleased to be back at this beachside city, and I hope you'll join me, Sana Keller, to learn more about the Canadian market. A couple of highlights that I'd like to share with you. Firstly, Canadian travel patterns vary differently than Americans, and this can be shown in the divergence of the number of Canadians that hold passports, 60%, versus Americans, which is only 30%. Secondly, Canadians are always looking for value, but they're not cheap. They are willing to spend. Well, I look forward to seeing you shortly, and I hope that you will keep cheering for our Toronto Blue Jays. See you soon.
And now to discuss Santa Monica's 2022-2023 tourism economic impacts and visitor profile and insight into WTF? Not that WTF. What's the forecast? Please give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Lauren Schlau. Lauren has been a research and consulting expert in the tourism industry for many years. As a senior manager at PKF Consulting and Research, director at San Diego Convention and Visitors Bureau, she then formed her own consulting firm. Many of you know Lauren from Cal Travel, TTMA, the California Downtown Association, and LA Tourism, just to name a few. Thank you, Lauren.
Good morning, Santa Monica. Wow, we're not on the sand this year. We're indoors, but it's wonderful to be here. One of my favorite places, as I say to people, I live just west of downtown LA. And I tell people when I go to Santa Monica, I actually feel like I'm on vacation, that I'm like a tourist. And it really is a different experience, as you can maybe imagine. Thank you all for having me this morning. Thanks to Santa Monica staff and the board, especially for your continued support of the research program that you have started since 1984. It is a big part of the success of this destination and of the DMO to be able to deliver to Santa Monica the tourism product that visitors want and expect. So thank you for that. So where are we here? Click, click, click. Let's see if we can do this. No, that's the wrong way. Yeah, let's try that. There we go. So this morning I'm going to talk to you a little bit of focus on Santa Monica. Who are the visitors and what's going on in the industry? What's happened this past year? What I'll tell you to begin with is that, like Carolyn just said, tourism has come back. It has rebounded. We have a continued recovery that started about a year, 2 years. It started in 2021. Yes, things had to reopen. Businesses had to reopen. Travelers had to start traveling again. The good news for this past year, 2022, is that the international share doubled, more than doubled to 21, but it's only still at 21%. Santa Monica, unlike the state, and unlike even the county of Los Angeles, Santa Monica is highly dependent on international travelers. It has run in the past roughly about 50% a year as share of total visitation. That impacts everything that happens in the destination because international visitors tend to stay, more of them stay overnight. They do more activities in the area. They spend more time here, and as a consequence, they spend more money here. Not that the U.S. market doesn't spend, they do, but is not to the extent of the international market. I'll get in a little bit more into that later. The day visitor share shifted up slightly. That says that people, it's an interesting phenomenon to look at this. When day visitation percentage goes up, what it actually means is that more people are coming from farther away because, think about this, when you go to someplace farther, you tend to have multiple destinations in your itinerary. When you're just from closer, you might just go that destination, that might be like your weekend or 2 to 3 day stay. So we have a slight shift to day visitors, more day visitors, which means more people from farther away, generally speaking. While the length of stay shortened just a tad, overnight visitors stayed longer in Santa Monica this past year. That's good news. But there is pressure on the hotels right now. There's fewer people are saying they're spending time in hotels. A lot of the overnighters are staying with friends and relatives in unpaid lodging. The short-term rental part of the market is not so huge that it has taken away from the hotels, but it is a factor in that little bit of a shift, and we can track these over the many years that we've been doing this study. Per capita income has spending by visitors is soft, is per capita, and that goes back to what I was saying before about international versus domestic. We've seen a softening in spending since the pandemic, actually before the pandemic. Because we have more visitors this year, and I'm going to get into those numbers just a second, but because we have more visitors, the total visitor spending has increased. The other thing that we're seeing is still a continuation. Everything has a good news and a bad news side. There's always two sides to every coin. The visitor age is younger yet again this year, this in 2022. We saw that during the pandemic because look at people like my age, we are not going to be traveling during the pandemic. Most of us did not. But young people, fearless, they'll go out, and they were there. And they were here because we started surveying at the end of 2020, and there was a lot of young people here. That trend has somewhat continued of what we're capturing here in Santa Monica. That's good news because those younger people can continue to grow and stay as visitors here. We're getting them at a young age. However, they do have lower income levels and do not tend to spend as much as people with higher income levels. So shifting forward, let's make sure I can go into the right thing here. I don't even know what page I'm on. Whoops. Where did that come from? Oh, that's the background. I got it. I'm past that. I'm way past that. Sorry, you guys. You just say, Lauren, click it, you know? So here are the numbers. Last year, we had 5.2 million visitors compared to 3.5 million the year before. The little bit lower length of stay, like I said, don't worry about that. Total visitor days, which is the total number of visitor days that people spend, if you multiply the stay by volume, is 7.5. That's a good thing. Annual visitor spending, almost $1 billion. Almost $1 billion in direct spending, not induced, not indirect. That is back to $1 million. Last year was the year before, 750 million. I will show you in a minute what the peak was, and we do have a little way to go to get there, but we're getting back. The per capita spending, as I mentioned, is a little weaker. However, the taxes generated, because hotel room rates and occupancy went up so much, the taxes to the city from hotel tax got to $59 million. By the way, that is not the entire TO tax. If you work for the city right now and you go, wait a minute, that's not how much we report in TO tax. That's correct, because we take a factor out for, there are people from LA County who stay in your local hotels. So we adjust that, but you can see it's up 40% from the year before. City's happy, I hope. Getting happier, I hope. Yeah, we're not. We're still not happy, but we're getting there, right, Glenn? We're getting happier. We're trying. We also do a little calculation that we look at the taxes. There's the retail sales tax portion from visitors of almost $4.5 million. It's up from 3.7 million. we do a little calculation with the number of households in Santa Monica and divide the taxes into that number and say on an equivalent basis, if the city was to provide, that would be the equivalent of services that the city would provide per household, or the amount of services that the household would not get if tourism was not supporting that level of tax revenue to the city. And last year, Santa Monica jobs, about 8,100 jobs, where this is, again, like Carolyn pointed out for the state, it's a little slower to get back up to the jobs number. Let's try this. Click. Okay, this I wanted to show you because this is something that we have been tracking ever since we started doing this study. I know the numbers might be a little bit small. I try to make it as big as possible. But if you look at this trend line, the top line is the visitor days. So again, if you're 2 visitors and you stay 3 days, you are 6 visitor days. And why that is important, because each one of those 2 people over each one of those 3 days is spending money. And that's why visitor days is such an important calculation. The bottom line is just the actual number of visitors. And you can see where we started back in 1983 with almost 3 million visitors and a little over 6.5 million visitor days. At the peak, and you guys peaked in 2017. I always say Santa Monica is a little bit like the canary in the mine. You're a harbinger of what is to come in the industry. The industry kind of peaked in 2019, but not everybody did. Santa Monica started, the effect of a little bit of a slowdown in tourism was starting already, and Santa Monica, it hit first. Again, a lot of it because of the international market. But you can see what happened during I don't think this thing has a laser on it, but you can see what happened during the pandemic. That is 2020. We'd never had such low numbers, even during the 2009 recession, 7 and 8 and 9 recession. We're back up. You can see how the volume numbers have increased. But the good news about this a little bit, if you can see at the very last number, 7.5 million visitor days, it's a little farther gap, bigger gap than the number of visitors, which means you're getting more. Not the visitor numbers are not growing as fast, but the visitor days are growing faster. And that's really important when it comes to destination management, because what we're trying to do a little bit, I'm not going to speak for Misty so much, but I'm saying in terms of the tourism industry, part of tourism management is to balance and optimize visitation, not to maximize it. And I think that's a thing that, especially if you're in a coastal destination, let's try to even out the seasonality, not go for peak visitation, but try to get more out of each visitor, which means more visitor days per visitor with fewer visitors doing that, and get a bigger bang for that effort. On the next slide, we've done the same thing with spending. So you can see the top line. So what this is actual spending in current dollars, like they spent, $961 million today, versus the inflation amount. This chart actually came about because Misty and I and the staff made a presentation to City Council many years ago, and one of the council persons said, well, why don't you adjust that for inflation? And we go, oh, he's right. We should be adjusting this for inflation. So we have been adjusting this for inflation, and you can see the growth. Inflation is taking a bite out of the growth, but there still is good growth in both years, 28% for overall spending and 19% with adjusted for inflation spending. Okay, click ahead. What I want to show you here is just how the share, I was talking about the international market before, how important the international market is to us and how it plays out. The 2022, like I mentioned, international reached 21%. Other U.S. means everything except California was 54% last year, and the California share was about 25%. The California share usually runs between 15 to 20%. Since COVID, the California share, not surprisingly, has had a bigger share of the total pot of, this is visitor volume, with the other U.S. share, because so much of the international market disappeared during COVID and since. Well, they're coming back, but they're, so you can compare it even to the year before. If you just look at the little blue slice, the dark blue slice, that's the international share. So what we've done is by increasing that international share this year, we've shrunk in a little bit of the other US, but it's still strong and it's still about half. Okay, so that's just to give you that idea. What do people spend money on when they come? Visitors spend mainly on lodging. 51% of their spending is for lodging. It's approaching $500 million of their total spend. So that comes from that $961 million total spending I told you. This was $492 was spent on lodging, $171 on meals and snacks out. The retail, $130 million is the third largest category. I would say that this has been weak prior to COVID. Retail has been weak everywhere. Santa Monica has a lot of retail to offer. I don't think the visitor is optimizing their opportunities. If I have to say that, that's what I would say. That I think we can do better in getting visitors to be spending on retail items while they're here. And I know some efforts being made on that end, but I think that's a key issue because retail used to be a much higher share of the total spend. And beverages, it kind of goes with meals and snacks, which actually would be the second highest. So those are the top four categories. You can see the other spending that we also keep track of. We include daily transportation, groceries and other spending, the attractions and admission fees, their activities, rentals like surfboard rentals or umbrella rentals or whatever activities they're doing, bike rentals. And the amenities, we talk about amenities in terms of wellness, such as spas and beauty and health and things that they do while they're here. Okay, hotel guests. This is a key factor. Why hotel guests are so important. If you look at these three things, I hope you can see them. I should have put them on the tops. Okay, do you guys see in the back? Okay, there they. Oh, you got monitors. Good. What you see in the big purple pie chart on the left is okay. So that's visitor volume, and day visitors comprise about 75-80% of that, 79% share. If you go across to visitor days, that share goes down. The hotel motel share, on the other hand, is about, which I can't even read it here because it's in blue, it's about 16% or so. And if you go across, what you see is that blue wedge that gets so much bigger. What happens is that hotel guests, who are 16% of volume, oh, thanks so much, end up accounting for 73% of total annual visitor spending. That is the impact and the key of why hotel guests are so important in this destination. So let's see what happens with taxes. The taxes being generated, 64 million, as I mentioned before, 59 million of which was the lodging tax, and 4.5 million is the retail sales tax, goes right to the city from tourism. Here's how the jobs play out. I mentioned the 8,100 jobs. Most of it this year is in lodging, over half, 4,500 jobs. That's up from 2,900, 3,000 jobs last year. Getting the jobs growth back has been a challenge everywhere, in every sector, but in particular in hospitality and tourism sector. But some of the biggest job growth that has been reported in the nation, if you follow employment trends, economic and employment trends, some of the biggest jumps this past year have been in tourism and hospitality, and that's leisure services. We have just been hurting. It took a really long time for us to get the positions were there for a change. What's happened is that positions were open. The challenge was getting the people to fill them, and we are starting now. We have moved into that place. So it's looking better. In the peak period, I think we were supporting 12,000 jobs, so we still have a little way to go. As I mentioned, the notable lift in international visitor volume and spending. The interesting the thing to say here is that the international visitor, again, at 21% in terms of volume, but they represent in their spending 34%, and that's even in the soft year that we had. I want to make one observation about the international market. Why has it been so slow to come back? I was just in New York for about 5 days. I was blown away by the number of international visitors in New York. However, where are they from? They're from Europe. very clearly from Europe. It's a 3-hour plane trip. Europe is open. The visa situation is open. These are people who have been back and forth. They almost travel to New York and the East Coast like we travel to New York and the East Coast. Get on a plane in 3 to 5 hours, you're there. We are dependent on the Pacific Asian market, which at one point was our strength. We were doing better than any place on the East Coast because the growth and the size of the Pacific market. That includes China, Japan, India, South Korea, and some of the other smaller countries there, Philippines, et cetera. Those markets have essentially been closed to us. They are not coming back from the recession from the pandemic at this point. And the big one especially is China. There's political issues as well as pandemic issues still lingering in that market. Japan is hesitant. They want to come back. They have been coming back, but they're slowly coming back. Our international markets since the pandemic have really consisted of, similar to what Carolyn's saying, Mexico, Canada, and now I'm going to go into which specific markets, but some of the other markets are starting to come back. But that has been the challenge of the West Coast, California, LA County, and particularly Santa Monica, because our share of international is higher than each of those 3 other areas. So that has been what our big challenge has been here. Okay, so who are our largest feeder markets? Oh, wait, is that right? Yeah. Oh, I think it skipped the California ones. Wait a minute. There we go. So again, I mentioned I didn't mention. California is Santa Monica's biggest domestic. These are all just based on domestic, not total. 32% of all the states is California, and then you see a big drop-off. And this is usually what it is. And these states across the smaller but close to California include Arizona, Texas, Nevada, Washington. They're Western regional. It's a good thing. They're strong. They're far enough away that people will not just use Santa Monica as a day location. They will stay overnight here. And the ones that I've drawn the circle around show you where they're overrepresented on hotel visitors. So we have 6.5%, let's say, came from Arizona in total, but of the hotel guests, it was almost 14%. So there are some markets that are good for us to be marketing to because they're overrepresented in the hotel sector. As far as the international markets are concerned, contrary to what I just said about Europe not coming back, UK just became the top market for us. But this is all on a completely different scale than it used to be. I mean, if I didn't do it for this study here today or presentation, but if we looked at the countries that what we were getting in 2017, 18, 19, it has become way different than this. Although UK has always been strong in Santa Monica, is a very strong base of UK. I think they showed on the news during the coronation, people were drinking and eating in your English pubs here in Santa Monica. I was like, whoa, look at that. Okay, for the coronation, it was great. We're still getting a lot of Mexicans and Canadians, which is always a good base of visitation for Santa Monica and for this area. And we're just kind of waiting for the rest of them to show up, but it's growing slowly. I want to talk a little bit about the lodging market. Santa Monica really picked up speed in terms of hotels. Its city average occupancy rose to 74% from 59% the year before. Over 1 million rooms in demand, total room demand, with a daily average rate of $411 a night, which is part of why that lodging tax was so beneficial and so high this year. We have a number of renovations going on. You've heard about one of them. There we go. So much is going on here. And this is kind of putting a new face on the lodging in Santa Monica. This hotel is a perfect example. I mean, many of us remember the old Holiday Inn Bayview. It is not the Delfina. And so many hotels are going through this and upgrading Santa Monica's product and appealing to, again, broadening the appeal of Santa Monica to a higher level of tourists. So to conclude, let me tell you a little bit about what people are saying, what visitors are saying. Their impressions are much higher. We asked them, if you have been a repeat visitor, how has your impression of Santa Monica changed since your last visit? Most of them, 44% rated their impression as improved. 51% said about the same. Only 4% said that it had gotten worse. And I'm seeing this every time we do this, and we do this quarterly, by the way. Santa Monica is continuing to ratchet up the improved impressions, and the very, very few people say that it is worse than when they were last here. Then we have a range of factors that we ask people to rate. Those who said it's on a 5-point scale, extremely satisfied or very satisfied, this is the percentage. Not less than 70%, 69.5%, rates Santa Monica very highly, extremely satisfied on all these factors. It offers unique and authentic experiences. It offers unique new things to see and do. Its monetary value, that's one area, it's not always the highest, but it's still high. Santa Monica Pier experiences, 75% are satisfied with that. The beach experience, 75%. The overall destination is rated 83% satisfaction. Santa Monica meets their expectations for 82%, and 85% said they were served and treated well in Santa Monica. And let me say, that is one of the most important measures you can have. That measure has gone up every year that we've been measuring it, because that's what brings people back. So your training programs, your staffing at your local businesses, the personal interface, that's what helps make the experience what it is. So with that, I want to thank you very much, appreciate it, and on to the next, and we'll see you later.
We offer an entire timeline, waking up, having coffee or juice at one of the 13 blocks that we have available for all the different choices with coffee and juice and breakfast. And when you come here, you really get a sense of the diverse community that really supports and enjoys both lunch, dinner, and, all day. I think the most unique thing about Main Street is that we have a lot of individuals that run their own businesses, and we also, in partnering with the city, have made great success in expanding our sense of restaurants. So we're a really great destination for restaurants on the street. I'm surprised sometimes when we get the responses, in Facebook and different things. I one time said that if you sit and have coffee on Main Street, you'll be able to watch the world pass by, because we really are a destination for, people visiting our city, and also for the interacting with the locals. And there is such a great sense of community and an act of kindness that happens anytime you visit, no matter what you're up to.
My name is Katie Smith, and today you'll meet with a few of us who work with SMTT and represent Santa Monica Travel and Tourism. I'm based in the UK, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. Please join me during our breakout session right after the summit, where I'll be discussing what the UK market is looking for when they travel, from wellness to adventure holidays. I look forward to meeting you all and sharing more about the UK market. See you soon.
All right, and now we want to talk about the Jeff King Tourism Champion of the Year Award, which honors an individual or organization who demonstrates creativity and leadership while fostering the positive experience of visitors and Santa Monica community pride. Past recipients include Jennifer Taylor. Oh yeah, come on, we all know who Jennifer Taylor is. Our own Elaine Polachek, who is here today, another Santa Monica VIP. Shelley Luce doing the good work down on the beach. Heal the Bay Aquarium, Santa Monica Pier, and Pacific Park. I know Jeff Clocky's here, and he is a VIP, so let's give it up for Pacific Park. This award is in honor of Jeff King, a beloved member of the Santa Monica community and co-founder of King's Seafood Company, where he opened 20 restaurants over his 50-year career, including Water Grill, Meat on Ocean, and Pier Burger. He was a tireless champion of the value of tourism, serving on boards for the California Restaurant Association, California Travel and Tourism Commission, and Santa Monica Travel and Tourism. And now, to present this year's award, please welcome to the stage former chair of our Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Board of Directors, local surfer, chef and owner of Lunetta and Lunetta All Day, Chef Rafael Lunetta.
Good morning. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be in Santa Monica. Thank you. Today, I'd like to honor Jeff King. Was a dear friend of both Josiah and myself. I think Josiah's father went to school with him, and he became a dear friend. And he was a very kind, committed, wonderful man. This year, the Tourism Champion Award is going to go to my closest friend, Josiah Citron. This shouldn't be hard because Josiah is my closest friend, and we met right here in Santa Monica at Washington Elementary School in Smash, and got some of our coaches here and some of our teachers here as well. We cherish surfing these beaches right here. We learned how to surf right here, right at this restroom right here, and the beaches here, the lifestyle here. Somehow we both had a love for food and became fascinated with the restaurant industry. Early on, we had a dream, one day, a vision of having a restaurant together. And in 1996, we opened Giraffe. After graduating Santa Monica High School, we moved to Paris together, and we lived in Paris, and we worked in Paris. And from there, we came back, and we worked at some of the I'd say the best restaurants in the city. And we were fortunate enough to have that dream come true in 1996. We did that for a few years. And then in 1999, Josiah opened Melisse, and we still stayed best friends and closest friends, coexisting just a few blocks apart. So it was really special when you have a partnership and you can remain friends after a partnership. And then we actually, had another business together. But more importantly than all of that is a little bit about Josiah. So for me, Josiah's generous spirit speaks. As you know Josiah, you understand how generous he is, how caring he is. I'm going to conclude it differently. His passion for the industry, his commitment to our community, Santa Monica, his endless inspiration that naturally blossoms in his creativity. You see it every day. This man works so hard. He is so committed to the industry. He is so driven. He is so caring for the people that he works with. This gentleman spreads kindness, and he spreads kindness every day with his friendship, with his inspiration, with his leadership. So this man has been a wonderful friend of mine. I'm honored to be his closest friend, and I look for many more years of just good years with this. Thank you, Jojo. I need to mention one more thing. So obviously, Melisse opened. Melisse earned or received 2 Michelin stars, and Citron recently received another Michelin star. So I think when you earn or receive a Michelin star, basically you are one of the best, restaurants on the planet. It is a wonderful opportunity and experience for people to come to the destination to enjoy that. A Michelin star is not an easy thing. I don't know, how, if we really understand the commitment it takes to receive one, 2, and this gentleman has received them. That also is very important for our destination and bring people here. But that is a true accomplishment. So thank you again, JoJo. I call him JoJo. His name is Josiah Citron, but thank you. Hi, Neil. Thank you. Hey, JoJo. There we go.
All right, thank you. Well, it's pretty cool. Thank you. Especially like Raphael said, Jeff King was my dad's fraternity brother at UCLA. So it's an honor to have this. And it's just an honor to have been and able to grow up in Santa Monica, have restaurants here, and be part of the community and be able to give back and just to be here. It's, you know, the city we grew up in, and we were lucky enough, like Raphael said, we had a dream to open a restaurant in our city we grew up in, and it's been successful and be able to make it. So super honored to have this, and I look forward to staying in Santa Monica and making many more years of a great destination for the travelers to come to. All right.
Thank you, Neil.
Okay, thank you all. And Joe, I cannot express to you enough how proud we are to talk about all of our restaurants. But I am going to take a moment to point out that Joe has the only Michelin-rated restaurants here in Santa Monica. So let's give him another round.
I have recommended so many people to come here and to stay in Santa Monica for their California, LA visit. I think it is the best place to explore not just Santa Monica, but all of Los Angeles.
There's so much to do here that you really don't need to leave. I mean, of course, go visit other parts of LA, sure, but really it is a one-stop shop when it comes to the perfect vacation.
You have the beach, you have great restaurants, you have great shopping, transportation is easy, and it's a really good base, I think, for an LA visit.
I think it's the mix of businesses we have here. They're all locally owned, mom and pop shops. Some have been here forever, some are new.
Most of the businesses are small. Everything's on a human scale here. So we get everybody walking their dogs in the morning, going to their yoga classes or their Pilates, coming for their morning coffee, to the lunchtime crowd, to everyone who works here. This is where people come to do their daily routines. And then also to pick up little gifts.
I mean, there are gift shops here that have stuff you can't find anywhere else. So when I have to buy a present for somebody who has everything, that's where I go. And plus, if they're tired from walking around and they just want to relax, you can get a facial, you can get a massage, you can get stretched. I mean, you can sit in an infrared sauna, which we have 2 places now on the street. So it really is a hometown USA type of feel here.
I just want more people to come here and to experience what we have and to enjoy it.
Bonjour! Sorry, this is not Emily in Paris, but this is Marine from Paris. I have the pleasure of representing the city of Santa Monica in France, and I'm delighted to be with you to share some great news about this market. We have seen a strong recovery of our airlines, which are now back to the 2019 levels. The US is back at the first position in long-haul destination, and not to mention the growing and incredible appetite for French travelers to discover Santa Monica lifestyle and experiences, which continues to result in the length of stay in this wonderful destination. So please come to see me during the session. Merci beaucoup and see you very soon.
And now, let's welcome to the stage City Manager David White and Police Chief Ramon Batista. Joining the city of Santa Monica as city manager in October 2021, David White was the deputy city manager in Berkeley, where he championed public safety improvements. With an extensive background in finance, both as an investment banker and as a finance director, White is well suited to see Santa Monica through our economic recovery. As a Los Angeles native, White graduated from UCLA with a bachelor's degree in psychology and anthropology, and he holds a master's degree in city planning from MIT. Chief Ramon Batista was born in Los Angeles and grew up in Tucson, Arizona, where he began his law enforcement career with the Tucson Police Department in 1986. He has pursued innovative programs aimed at improving officer resilience, and in 2020, he co-authored Do Not Harm, a book on inspiring a cultural shift within the law enforcement industry. Chief Batista was sworn in as the Santa Monica Police Department's 18th police chief on October 18, 2021, and is the only appointed Latino police chief in the 125-year history of the Santa Monica Police Department and the city of Santa Monica. Please welcome David White and Ramon Batista.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all. Let's see if I can get this a little closer. How's that? Is that better? Yes. Fantastic. As I explained to Misty walking up here, we're definitely going to improve the walk-on music for me next year. We'll get that a little livelier. Well, again, good morning, everyone. Real pleasure to be here. It's my second opportunity to be in front of all of you as the city manager of Santa Monica. And I think as you all have seen already in the presentations you've received to date and the videos we've seen in some of our tremendous neighborhoods, Santa Monica is a fantastic community and destination, and a place that I am very proud to call home. I've been the city manager for a little over a year and a half, and I've had the tremendous opportunity to interact with many residents, businesses, and community leaders that care deeply about Santa Monica and are committed to investing in its future. So I'm going to pick up on some of the themes that we heard earlier today, and I want to take a moment and reflect on what a tremendous moment in time this is for our city. Again, I want to frame that. This is a tremendous moment in time for this city. New business developments in downtown and throughout Santa Monica amount to substantial investment in our community, accelerating our economic recovery from the pandemic and creating excitement and a very bright future ahead. Next slide, please. So at this moment, I just would like everyone to put down your phones and really take a look at this slide. And I'm going to walk you through some of what you're looking at, because this is the future of our destination. The Fairmount Miramar Hotel and Bungalows is planning for a major redevelopment that has been in the works for a decade and will reinvigorate the beloved historic property and continue its legacy as a must-visit destination. The project will enlarge hotel rooms, add 60 condominium units, and feature welcoming open spaces for the public. This project will boast increased water and energy efficiency and be certified LEED Platinum or higher, continuing Santa Monica's tradition of architecture that is beautiful, functional, and sustainable. The project was approved by our City Council in 2020 and is now in the design phase and being reviewed by the Coastal Commission. Last year, our City Council approved the Ocean Avenue project, a mixed-use, LEED Platinum certified project designed by the world-renowned architect and Santa Monica resident, Frank Gehry, that will include a hotel, commercial space, residential development, a museum showcasing Frank Gehry's illustrative career and historic archives, and a public rooftop observation deck. Like the Miramar, the Ocean Avenue project will symbolize Santa Monica at its finest: beautiful, sustainable, and welcoming. And there's more. Other exciting new and upcoming investments, which you've heard about a little bit earlier, include the recent opening of the Pier Hotel with a huge outdoor mural by world-renowned artist Shepard Fairey. and that mural is absolutely captivating walking down Ocean. The relaunch of the historic Georgian Hotel, originally built in the golden age of Hollywood, and if you haven't been into that hotel, what has been done is absolutely unbelievable. The ongoing transformation of the former Lowe's property into the Regent Santa Monica, the transition of the Shangri-La Hotel to the Beacon by Sonder, renovations at the Viceroy Santa Monica, the rebranding of Le Marigot as an autograph collection, and a formal application has also been submitted for a 74-room hotel at 516 Colorado Avenue. Let's take a breath for a moment. That's a lot. This level of activity, from my perspective, is a clear indication that we are poised to maintain our position as a preeminent destination. Next slide, please. In addition to that, hundreds of new businesses have opened in the last few years, from bars and restaurants to wellness spaces to gyms to retailers and more. In fact, Eater LA recently referred to Main Street as suddenly the coolest place to eat in LA. Without a doubt, Santa Monica continues to be a hub for exciting, innovative, and successful businesses. And there's some just down the way. Bar Monette, Mon Ami, you've seen the headlines. It's tremendous what's happening in our community at this time. People want to live, work, and visit Santa Monica, and we understand the value of these investments in the hotel sector in our downtown and throughout our city. And we are committed to nurturing them by doing everything we can to maintain the city's infrastructure, to keep the streets and public spaces clean, safe, and attractive, and to ensure that all residents and visitors to our hotels, restaurants, and retailers feel welcome and safe. Next slide, please. I remember that when I first started with the city, I was immediately impressed by our parks and public spaces. This beautiful image right here. These are an important part of life in Santa Monica for locals and visitors alike. And everyone takes their upkeep seriously. From our dedicated public works team that repaves our streets, repairs street lights and sidewalks, recycles green bin organics, and disposes of bulky trash items, to the city's promenade maintenance team, beach maintenance team, and our parking operations divisions, which in concert with our private businesses and downtown Santa Monica ambassadors service over 200 trash cans 4 times a day and monitor Santa Monica's parking structures and surface parking lots. Not to steal our chief's thunder. On the safety side, we have a skilled and responsive police department under the leadership of Chief Batista that is hard at work at preventing and addressing crime when it occurs and incorporating new technology and deployment measures to meet evolving community needs. One of the things that I am most proud of from the last year is the results from our police department's strategic deployments. Our strategic deployment approach has brought forward a higher level of visibility and proved to reduce instances of crime in high traffic areas. And we'll certainly hear more about this from our chief in just a few moments. Addressing homelessness continues to be a top priority for the city, We have joined other cities to declare a local emergency on homelessness, and with the recent extension of our local emergency, we are poised to focus new and current investments, maintain and scale up initiatives to support vulnerable populations at risk of or experiencing homelessness, and advocate for additional funding and resources at the county, state, and federal level. And our mayor will comment more on this towards the end of the morning. The economic recovery work we've engaged in over the last few years has again and again reminded us that moving forward has to be a group effort. It takes collaboration between partners, businesses, the community, city council, and staff, and the local workforce. We are so fortunate to have such a wonderful partner in Misty and the entire staff of SMTT and everyone in this room. And we will continue to progress together to attract new businesses and navigate challenging issues. As we look to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the 2028 Olympics, and other big events, We know that it will take all of us working together to position Santa Monica to succeed when the world comes to our shores. A big thank you to SMTT for your partnership, leadership, and many thanks to our Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Santa Monica, and all of our business improvement districts for all of your collaboration. I remember standing here last year and saying that we are on the road to recovery. Domestic tourists has returned, large employers were back at work, and international travelers were slowly starting to return. Today, it's apparent that we are so much farther down that road, and that is because of our combined efforts and how well we have pulled together to do the work. I'm excited for our continued work together to create a vibrant and thriving Santa Monica. Thank you.
Misty, Santa Monica Tourism and Travel Board, thank you so much for having me this morning. Madam Mayor, friends, business owners, it is so good to see you this morning. Thank you for having me. I wanted to hold on this slide because I am so incredibly proud of the men and women of the Santa Monica Police Department. There is slightly over 400 members in total, evenly split, nearly 50-50, of professional staff, public service officers, traffic service officers, and police officers. Now that balance across the country is not normal. Normally it is highly stacked with police officers and a small number of professional staff, but here in Santa Monica, years ago, they figured out the right way to balance this out. And so with that, we use both professional staff and police officers to form this fabric of safety that is what we deliver to Santa Monica every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I'll tell you that in 2020, through the pandemic, and 2021, the years of the pandemic and social unrest, police officers across the country pulled back. And in that space was filled by higher levels of crime. We had a lot higher levels of homicides across the country, and certainly that impacted the life of members of our cities across the country. When I arrived in Santa Monica, the thing I started to work on first was the motivation and support of our men and women in the department, and letting them know that it is important to get out there and do the work, proactively go out there and protect our communities. And they've been responding. Last year, they outperformed the last couple of years in their self-initiated activity, the things that they see something out of place and get out of the car and talk to somebody, either on a traffic stop or a pedestrian stop, and just have a conversation. And many of those things, we simply walk away and say, okay, you can't do that, be on your way, and we move on. This year, they're outperforming even last year's statistics for this time frame. And if you think about it, like that is what we want out of our police officers. That is what we want out of our public safety, is we don't want them to sit in the parking lot in the corner somewhere and wait for a 911 call to come. We want them to proactively go out there and look for things to do. And so I brought my cell phone up here just to remind myself of this story. Traffic stops are a key tool that police officers use. And here in Santa Monica, it is something that works very well for us. And so a traffic stop in downtown Santa Monica leads to an officer, a female officer, making a stop and finding 20 cell phones in this person's vehicle. 20 cell phones because it was a person who had been, a couple of people in the car, had been engaged in pickpocketing in downtown and on the Pier. Now, all of us know how important this phone is to us. And we can't even imagine, I think, in sometimes, what it would be like to not have it with us or to lose it, and everything that's got to go into restoring that part of our lives. And so it is that kind of work that the officers are doing, where they're going out there and on their own figuring out that something's not quite right. The officers in the middle of the night that have thwarted the thievery of catalytic converters on their own, just driving by, something doesn't look right, they turn around and there it is, a couple of people underneath a Prius stealing a catalytic converter. Or the officer that was driving down the street and sees somebody kind of huddled down by a telephone pole, not as in somebody experiencing homelessness and looking for shelter, but something something more suspicious than that. Turns around and makes a stop and finds a couple of people that were actively working to remove the copper wire between two light poles. That's the kind of activity that we want our officers to constantly be looking for, to constantly be thinking to themselves, hey, that's out of place. I need to make a stop and talk to them. So I got to tell you, and this is very serious, is that every day, and I work 7 days a week pretty much, but every day that I put this on and every day that I take this off, I am thinking about two things. I am thinking about how do I continue to motivate them? How do I continue to encourage them and support them to go out there and be their very best? How do I do that? And I've got to tell you that it's not hard, because as I walk the halls of our police department, and see one of the most diverse departments in our city's workforce, over 400 women and men, and it is the most diverse, and it is a joy to walk through those halls, to see it reflective of Santa Monica. That's what I get to see. And so I think, how am I going to make them and support them so that they can go out there and do their very best? That's the first thing I think of. The other thing I think of is, how do we continue to build on the public safety strength and keep our community and our business owners safe so that businesses can flourish, especially in our downtown area? Those are the things I think about daily. As your police chief, I am relentlessly thinking about how we continue to improve on those things. And so with that, I'll go over some high-level numbers and statistics year to date. So right now, these statistics were as of May 6th. Now it's maybe 11 days later. And where we had taken at that time a total of 32,000 calls for service, we're now at over 33,500. And it's because, as you know, in Santa Monica, we've been dealing with issues of homelessness for many years. And here, more effectively than I think any other city, certainly in the South Bay area. We've taken over 7,000 calls that are related to homelessness. And while we've taken approximately 561 calls related to encampments, the good news is that this year, we've taken 100 fewer of those calls than we did last year. With respect to the number of arrests that we've made, we're at nearly 1,000. And of those, about 640 were related to homelessness. And so there's two interesting things about the statistics for us at the police department as it relates to homelessness. About 20% of our total calls for service are related to homelessness. And I know sometimes when I'm at a community meeting or a business meeting, folks really think that it's inverted, that it's the majority of it has to do with homelessness. And it's really not. It's about 20%. But here's the other interesting thing of that, is that about 65, 67% of all of our arrests are related to folks that are experiencing homelessness that are engaged in some type of criminal behavior. So with that, let me pivot and talk about one of our premier teams. So think about the progressive nature of our city, which then translated into the progressive nature of a police department. Back in the mid-1990s, the department thought, you know, we've got this issue of homelessness, and we've got to figure out a better way to deal with it, because in and of itself, we recognize that homelessness is not a crime. So we have to figure out a way to best guide them and deal with folks experiencing homelessness into paths that will get them out of that situation. In the mid-1990s, the department had a team developed and specifically focused on nothing but homelessness. Until today, the Homeless Liaison Program is comprised of a sergeant and 9 officers. Most often, we're running with about a sergeant and 7 officers. In any event, that team here in just the statistics all the way up to early May had taken nearly 760 calls for service. They had responded to 337 311 requests, which it equates to about 81 or so 311 requests per month. They had, on their own, addressed nearly 383 self-initiated activity events. And here, this is very important to me because the Homeless Liaison team is not about making arrests. And so they've made maybe 7 felony arrests and 20 misdemeanor arrests. But because their focus is trying to figure out how to get folks off the street and into social service. And so immediately right after that, you'll see that they have referred over 500 folks to services and addressed on their own about 150 encampments. Now, we don't do the work with the homeless liaison team by themselves. We have a clinician that's assigned from LA County that works with us. It's a multidisciplinary team. And now, by the way, multidisciplinary teams across the country are all the rage. Well, here in Santa Monica, it's been operating that way for over a decade. And so with that, I wanted to just close on telling you that our homeless liaison team is amazing. It is a Cadillac. It is a model that other police agencies have come and taken notes and taken that back to their agencies to replicate. And our hope is with the tax dollars that are being generated by the approval of Measure CS, is that then we will be able to expand the homeless liaison team into 2 squads that'll help us cover all 7 days a week. And so that's the vision, that's the hope, and that's where we're headed. And with that, I will close and take any questions.
If City Manager White will join Chief Batista on the stage, we have a couple questions we're going to ask each of you. The first question, and everyone here who RSVP'd today included questions they wanted to ask our city panel. The first question is for David White. How do we keep Santa Monica affordable for tourists of all economic levels?
You want to take that, Chief? So maybe a little not known fact. Santa Monica consists of 9,000 businesses. Big businesses, small businesses, businesses that cater to all sorts of individuals. And so I think it's incumbent upon ourselves to do all that we can to promote our large businesses and to promote our small businesses, which is what makes Santa Monica so unique and so very special. Something else that we can do is promote our unique assets. They're free. The beach, a walk down the pier, a walk down the promenade, Bergamot Art Station. What I have come to really enjoy and appreciate about Santa Monica, it's so alive. It's so alive. We get the daytime to enjoy the environment, and there's so much happening here at night. Wonderful restaurants, we just heard some earlier today. Wonderful community and cultural events occur in the evenings and on the weekends. And we can promote that, and we can celebrate that, and we can direct all of our visitors that come here to all those opportunities, because it does truly cater to people across the entire spectrum.
Thank you, City Manager White. This next question is for Chief Batista. What's the current state of the unpermitted vendors and performers, and have you seen a decline in that?
So about a year ago, we engaged in this collaborative effort between the city attorney's office, the fire department, or code enforcement, and public works, and the police department to form this task force, this team of officers and code enforcement officers and fire personnel that were going to be tasked with ensuring the safety of everyone on the pier. At the time, we were dealing with unpermitted vendors, flammable materials on the wooden pier, and a lot of disorder in how things were unfolding on the pier. And the business owners were feeling it. We were hearing complaints from tourists and residents alike as to what was unfolding on the pier. Since that time and to today, that team is still in place and doing tremendous, tremendous work and keeping permitted vendors into the area, also working very, very hard to get at least 200 additional permits issued. Code enforcement, who does the majority of the work in dealing with code-related matters. Here in just the first 5 months of the year, first 4 months of the year, they'd issued over 700 warnings in comparison to only the 49 or so citations that they'd issued. They come to the table with a lot of information and compassion and care for folks that are trying to make it and trying to get them permitted and trying to get them licensed. The work there, though, continues. The team that was originally started as a task force is now called the Directed Action Response Team, and that is the group of officers and code enforcement officers that are still the nucleus of the team that goes out there. They work alongside the pier. They are addressing issues of homelessness and disorder along the beach. They're into Palisades Park, Reed Park, Tongva Park, and now more recently into downtown, and just doing tremendous work. And all of it is self-initiated. Going back to what I had talked about earlier, is that they're going out there and proactively engaging in these issues and having great success. So with respect to how is it today in comparison to this time frame last year, much better, but that work continues to this day.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. This next question is for City Manager White. Just because we experienced record rainfall, does that mean Santa Monica is out of the drought?
Well, we're swimming in it. No, we are not out of the drought. And while the record rainfall has truly been epic this past year, the reality is that we still have a long way to go. But one of the things that I do want to emphasize in commenting on the drought is what makes Santa Monica so special. And I use this word in a couple of times in my prepared remarks, and that's sustainability. We are a community deeply committed to sustainability. And the evidence of that is literally right down the street from here. There's a new water facility. It's called the Sustainable Water Infrastructure Project. And what that project is, it's a best-of-class infrastructure project that takes urban runoff, stormwater, and puts it back into the system as recycled water, and also brings it back into the groundwater in our aquifer so that we can retreat that water and put it back into our drinking water system. It's now up and operating. It supplies about 10% of our water supply in the city of Santa Monica, and that's part and parcel of a very long-range vision adopted by our council to diversify our water supply and get us off of imported water supply so that we can be truly water self-sufficient and reliant on our own system. And why that is so important for all of you as hotels and businesses is because you're not gonna have to worry about water like some other communities will. That's our vision for the city, and that will continue to drive our economic recovery because people are looking for a community that is centered on sustainability, and that's who we are.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, City Manager White. We have one more question, which is for Chief Batista. From a safety perspective, how much do tourists contribute to crime in Santa Monica?
I think many of you, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of folks in the room, and I've talked about our aging technology infrastructure within the police department and our goals to reinvigorate and renovate those things to 21st century standards. Our computer-aided dispatching and records management system is 30 years old. And although it's received a couple of updates, it's still over 3 decades in the making and in the work. And so our systems right now don't capture if somebody is a tourist per se, like you're describing. But I'll tell you this, out of the 2,439 arrests that we effected in 2022, a small percentage, I want to say 8%, which equates to about 190 arrests, were of residents of Santa Monica that were not experiencing homelessness. The rest of that, 92%, the rest of that 92%, 75% or so, as I mentioned earlier, in the 70% range, were of folks experiencing homelessness. And then the remaining 25% of that are really, to be frank, opportunists from the surrounding LA County area that come into Santa Monica and in some cases engage in a direct effort to victimize a resident or a tourist or a business. And in other cases, within that 25%, it's just visitors from LA County that may have a really good time and then may get behind the wheel and get stopped for DUI, or they get into an altercation. But that is essentially the breakout of the number of arrests and the problems associated with people from outside of LA County. But I don't have the specific number for tourists involved in wrongdoing.
Well, that's fantastic. Please give a big round of applause for City Manager David White and Police Chief Ramon Batista. Please always, please show our police and our fire kindness. They work so hard for this city and for our city staff. They work very tirelessly for this city and everyone in this room. Now we're going to turn to our second award for the day, which is the Thelma Parks Spirit Award, in honor of Thelma Parks, a passionate member of our community who passed away in January 2011 after serving the tourism industry for over 23 years. Her work at Santa Monica Travel and Tourism and the Huntley Hotel is still felt today. Anyone who knew Thelma can testify that she treated each visitor with loving care. She was motivated to do so because, in her own words, having found myself a tourist many times, I enjoy putting the visitor first. Past recipients of this award include Darius Smiley, a guest services agent here at La Meridian Delfina, and Manju Rahman, general manager of the Huntley Santa Monica Beach Hotel, who got many nominations this year. We want to give Manju a shout out there. And please take a look at the screen for some of our past award winners. And now, to join Misty in presenting this year's award winner, please welcome to the stage, along with our president and CEO, Misty Kearns, the president and CEO of the Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce, Judy Kruger.
Good morning. I'm honored to be here representing the Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce, along with Misty, to acknowledge the hardworking individuals that provide an unforgettable experience for our residents and visitors. The Thelma Parks Award is a collaboration between the Santa Monica Travel and Tourism and Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce. It is given in the spirit of Thelma Parks to recognize our local employees, servers, sales clerks, housekeepers, front desk agents, and many others who go out of their way to make a difference in the visitor and resident experience in Santa Monica. This year's recipient is a 42-year employee of the Fairmont Miramar Hotel and Bungalows, 42 years. She was promoted from a housekeeper to inspector. Her rooms are immaculate and her attention to detail is incredible. She is an amazing team player and helps management as well as her own coworkers to get the job done. She always displays an enthusiastic attitude. Modesta, please join us on the stage.
Thank you so much, Judy. We are so grateful that you're here and for the partnership we have. Keep up the good work. Congratulations, Modesto. 42 years. Let's hear it again. My God. The Fairmont, and we are so lucky to have you. And we wanted to offer you, in addition to the recognition, a $1,000 scholarship for you to go out and do what you would like to do with it. But make sure it's for you and not for somebody else. And then do you have anything you want to say?
Muchas gracias a todos.
Well, let's once again very quickly revisit that message of kindness that our board chair Neil Carey mentioned at the beginning. In front of you today on the table is a placemat highlighting our Kindness, It's a Vibe message. Before you leave today, please take a moment to write down how you show kindness or an act of kindness you've received. At the end of today's program, we'll collect those placemats, just like the teacher did in high school. We're going to walk around and collect your kindness homework and share your written ideas on how you show kindness. We want to hear from you. When you leave today, please do something kind for someone. Let's spread that kindness It really is a vibe.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
All right, we're going to keep this fun going. We're coming here in the home stretch, so hang in there. We got some great information coming. I want to talk about our next speaker today. Our next speaker is Kimberly Vince Cruz. Hey, so for 14 years, she's been conducting market research on behalf of the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry. Kimberly directs and implements the vision of Destination Analyst Research Studies. She brings a wealth of experience to projects ranging from in-depth destination brand research and visitor profile studies to conversation studies and creative testing. Kimberly is a sought-after industry resource and was recognized as one of California Travel Association's emerging leaders. Please welcome to the stage, Kimberly Vince Cruz.
Hi, everyone. Good morning and happy Wednesday. I am so honored to be here at the 14th Annual Santa Monica Tourism Summit to share with you all the latest on international traveler trends. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Destination Analysts, as Evan had shared, we are a market research firm. We support the travel, tourism, and hospitality industries with insights into audiences, brand, and marketing performance. What I'm about to share with you are the latest insights from the State of the International Traveler study. And this is a study that our team conducts each year in which we look at the top 15 feeder markets into the US. We study international travelers to explore how they're thinking, feeling, and planning when it comes to travel abroad. These are the 15 core markets of study that we look into each year, and you'll see that these markets include North America, Latin America, Asia, and Europe. And what I'm about to share with you are insights that are hot off the press. These are insights that actually have not been shared publicly yet, so you're all getting a sneak peek at this. So we'll start with how international travelers are feeling about international travel right now. We'll first start with what these international travelers are predicting for 2023. What do they think will likely happen this year? And top of the list is price gouging. With inflationary challenges, international travelers feel that price gouging will be a top prediction. This is going to happen this year. We have a third of international travelers who feel that COVID will largely be a thing of the past. So COVID is far behind us, but we see a similar percentage of travelers. Oh, technology. We see a third of travelers who also say that they'll be sorry about this. Third of travelers who feel that AI will replace travel advisors and agents, but we see a similar percentage of international travelers who feel that travel agents will continue to be used as a prediction for this year. 1 in 5 of travelers feel that travelers in general will sour on the use of home rental services like Airbnb. And interestingly, when it comes to the appeal and use of social media influencers, 19.6% of international travelers feel that the use of social media influencers will decline. So let's look at travel volume. We'll first look at the number of trips that these international travelers took in 2022. And on average, these international travelers took 2.2 average trips internationally in 2022. And we see the country of India indexing higher than the average. Right now, the vast majority of international travelers say that they're likely to travel abroad this year. So good news that these travelers plan to visit countries outside of their home country. And each year in this study, we ask international travelers whether they're going to travel more, travel less, or travel the same as they did last year. And we also ask that same question related to their travel spending. And you'll see represented by the blue line on this chart the percentage of these international travelers who expect to take more international trips in the upcoming year. We see represented by the dark blue line the percentage of these travelers who expect to spend more on their international trips. And so when we look specifically at 2023, 2023 is there is a slight decline compared to 2022, but I do want to point out that 2022 was the year of revenge travel. We had people all over the country wanting to get out and do more than they had, make up for lost time. So 2023, unfortunately, a slight decline compared to 22, but an increase compared to 2021 when we were still largely in the midst of the pandemic. So with traveler sentiment and travel planning, oftentimes the economy is an underlying factor. So how is the economy impacting traveler sentiment right now? Fortunately, it is not affecting the number of days that these travelers have committed to international travel. On average, travelers intend to spend 15.4 days on international travel this year, so over 2 weeks that they have planned to take international trips. Good news also is that international travel is a high budget priority for these international travelers. 50% say that they are expecting to spend a large part of their budget on international travel. And so with optimism about spending and optimism about their travel outlook, what are the most desired international destinations? We see that Europe tops the list as the region of the world in which these international travelers most want to visit. And this is followed by 1 in 4 who would like to go to the United States and 23% who would like to visit Asia. So let's look specifically at the United States brand. And we see that amongst these international travelers, the US is indeed a part of their tourism consciousness. 43.4% of these international travelers who were surveyed reported that they have seen tourism ads for the US recently. And as many marketers might know, that recall oftentimes drives the inspiration to purchase. And so we see that across these 15 markets that we study, a large majority of these international travelers, 70%, say that they are highly interested in visiting the United States in the near future. They plan to come in the next 2 years. But when we look specifically at likelihood, we see that 50% of these international travelers are likely or will definitely visit the US. So the interest is high, the likelihood is not as high, but still a good proportion, half. And that's a little bit of a decline compared to 2022, but again, keep in mind 22 was the year of revenge travel. It is still an increase compared to 2021 and does represent a 5 percentage point increase compared to 2019, pre-pandemic. So we looked specifically at a segment of international travelers who reported that they're most interested in visiting the United States. And we asked these travelers what the drivers of travel for them are in a broad sense. And when you look at this chart, we see at the top food and cuisine, shopping, relaxation. Some of these are not showing up on the chart, but the general atmosphere. These are all the top drivers in a broad general sense of travel for these travelers are most interested in visiting the U.S. I want to point out food and cuisine. So you'll see food and cuisine is at the top, 40% saying that that's a top driver. So keep that in mind because that'll come up. We'll see a theme around food, which I'll point out. So how can we make international travelers want to visit the US? What's going to motivate them? What's going to inspire them? But before we look at that, let's address some challenges. So looking here, we see on this chart the top deterrents to visiting the United States. And by and large, we do this study every year. Costs are a huge deterrent. Cost of airfare and the United States being generally too expensive. But similar to costs, a similar proportion, 1 in 5 have concerns about gun violence, and there are also concerns about personal safety. So gun violence and safety being a top concern. In addition to that, another deterrent tends to be visa protocols. The wait times for visas and issues around visa processing tend to be top deterrents for visiting the United States. I pointed out those concerns around personal safety, and so we asked these international travelers to rate how concerned they would be about their personal safety if they were to take a trip to the United States. And when we look at the average reported safety concerns across these markets, India reports the highest level of concern about their personal safety if they were to travel the United States. But for the other markets, we see moderate levels of concern. So as far as the types of destinations these international travelers most want to visit in the US, we see that cities, American cities, are the types of destinations they're most interested in visiting. And so we wanted to probe about their perceptions of American cities. We see here at the top of the list that American cities are too expensive. And that aligns with what we saw earlier in that costs were a deterrent to visiting the US. The other perceptions of the US is that the US is too crowded. The US struggles with those who experience homelessness. And then we also see that almost half say that their perception of the US is that it's dangerous. So again, we saw those safety level concerns being a deterrent to visiting the US. We also asked these international travelers whether or not they've recalled negative media about America's cities. And across the board, over a third, 36.3%, say they have indeed recalled negative media about American cities, which could very well be impacting those negative perceptions of our cities. So an opportunity here to collectively market the US to combat those negative perceptions. But let's refocus on the positive here, and you'll see on this slide word cloud, and this word cloud represents the top reasons that these international travelers want to visit the United States. And the reasons they want to visit the United States outside of visiting their friends and family include cities, culture, shopping, scenic beauty, all of which Santa Monica can certainly deliver on. And we also took it a step further and asked those visitors who recently came to the United States what the most memorable part of their trip was. What was their favorite part, what was most memorable to them? And these are travelers who came to the United States within the past 2 years. And we see that cities, again, like New York and Las Vegas, were the most memorable parts of their trip. But in addition to that, we see that, again, aligning with the reasons they want to visit the US, the most memorable parts are culture, scenic beauty, shopping. Earlier, I had brought up food and cuisine as a top driver of travel for those who most want to visit the United States. And that actually comes into play here. We see bars and restaurants being one of the most memorable parts of the US trip experience. And I just wanted to share a couple of verbatim responses that these international travelers shared when they responded to the most memorable parts of their trip. Again, relating back to scenic beauty, natural landscapes, food, culture. Really heartwarming to see that these international travelers had such a lovely time here in the United States. As far as perceptions of the United States since their most recent visit, again, these are recent travelers who came within the past 2 years. Approximately 2/3 of them report that their perceptions of the United States have improved since their most recent visit, which is great. However, we do see a nominal percentage, 6.6%, who say that their perceptions of the US have declined since their most recent visit. And we see the sharpest declines amongst travelers who visited from Canada, Australia, Colombia, and the UK. When it comes to booking travel, the most important considerations for these international travelers are cost. Again, we saw cost was a big deterrent to visiting the United States. And outside of cost, other important factors that these international travelers consider when they book their trips are the convenience of planning a trip, the ease of obtaining a visa. Again, we saw earlier that visa wait times and the visa process were deterrents to visiting the US. But in addition, something that I do want to point out is diversity. So diversity being welcoming destination, diversity not just of the residents, but the diversity of the tourists in a destination, that's also an important consideration, as well as sustainability. That was something that came up in the session just a moment ago, sustainability. So these are all things that can certainly be capitalized on in messaging to these international travelers. So what drives the desire to travel? We ask these international travelers, why do they want to travel? And they want to travel because they want to escape their daily lives. They want to relax. They want to experience other cultures. We saw earlier that one of the top reasons that they're interested in visiting the US is because of culture, and culture also is one of the most memorable parts of a trip to the US. So taking a break, escaping their daily life, relaxing, experiencing culture are all top drivers for these international travelers that drive them in terms of traveling internationally. I want to focus specifically on those who are most interested in visiting the United States. And when we look at this particular segment of international travelers who are most interested in visiting the United States, I want to point out their passions and hobbies. We see that over 2/3 of this particular segment who most want to visit the United States are passionate about food and cuisine. That's something I asked you all to pay attention to earlier, right? That was also a driver of travel, something that was memorable as part of their US trip. So food and cuisine, top passion. I know from personal experience that Santa Monica can certainly deliver on food and cuisine. And some of the other top passions and hobbies for this particular group who's interested in visiting the US include history, shopping, photography, fashion, fitness, wine. Elements that can certainly be delivered as part of a Santa Monica experience. As far as the ideal trip and the features of an ideal US trip, these international travelers intend to plan their trip 12.9 weeks in advance. They plan to spend 12 days in the US, and they plan to visit 4.0 destinations on average as part of their US trip. So there's opportunity for Santa Monica to be one of those 4.0 US destinations as part of the trip. As far as the top lodging choices that they'd like to have as part of the trip, hotels including full-service hotels, mid-price hotels, and vacation rentals are their top lodging choices. These international travelers would largely visit the United States with their partner or significant other. And as far as the types of information that will be most important to them in planning a trip to the US, relevant to many of you all in the room, the types of information that they want to plan this trip are information on hotels, restaurants, and food. Again, here we have food come up again, safety, beaches, and shopping. So again, something to keep in mind as far as messaging Santa Monica to these potential international visitors. So we talked about what's going to motivate these international travelers to visit the US, what's going to inspire them to visit the US, but how do we get in front of these international travelers? Well, as far as sources of trip inspiration for these international travelers, the direct opinions and comments from friends and relatives, so direct contact and recommendations are top. This aligns with a lot of the other research that our team does, the State of the American Traveler Tracking Study, as well as custom research that we do. We see friends and family are by far the #1 source of travel inspiration. And this is followed by online media, as well as we don't see it here because this chart has been enlarged, but another top resource is official Convention and Visitors Bureau websites. Again, that aligns with a lot of the other research that we do, and something to consider that official DMO and CVB websites are still largely used in the travel planning process. Other travel planning resources that would be used if these international travelers were to plan an international trip specifically to the US are resources both online and offline. And we look at online resources, we have online search, as well as the official CVB websites. And when we look at offline, again, we see friends and family coming up top, friends and family direct recommendations, as well as traditional travel agents. And specific to social media, I wanted to point out the social media resources that these international travelers are likely to use to plan a trip to the United States. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, topping the list of social media, but we also have, and you don't see it, TikTok, TikTok being a top resource. 40% of these international travelers reported that they would use TikTok to plan a trip to the United States. So I want to focus on TikTok just a little bit. Oh, and these slides are a little bit different, but I wanted to share just a couple of insights from a recent study that our team at Destination Analyst conducted on best practices on TikTok content. This is a study that our team did of American travelers who use TikTok regularly. We surveyed these travelers, and we also conducted interviews with these travelers. We spoke directly to them. And I hope that for those of you who include TikTok as part of your marketing strategy or might be considering investing in TikTok, that these few highlights might be helpful. One is that TikTok does encourage consumers' behaviors and engagement with a brand. 3/4 of American travelers who use TikTok regularly reported that they ended up looking up more information about a brand or considered using a brand because of ads that they saw on TikTok. So positive outlook for brands and destinations that are on TikTok. The types of content, the tone that they want in TikTok, they want a tone that is fun, informative, as well as calming and relaxing. So something to consider as you develop content for your TikTok marketing strategy. Oh, I can't see it here, but I wanted to end with this quote from one of the travelers who we interviewed for TikTok. And this particular traveler had shared that the importance of seeing ads on TikTok and what they want to see. They want to see beautiful scenery. They want to see people they recognize or celebrities. So again, food for thought as you develop content for your TikTok marketing strategy. So to summarize the international traveler trends, international travelers expect to take more trips and spend more on international travel this year compared to 2021. Again, remember 2022 was the year of revenge travel. There's an opportunity for Santa Monica to capture market share amongst international travelers who are likely to visit in the next 2 years. We saw that half of international travelers are likely or will definitely visit the US, and we saw that those who are most interested in visiting the US plan to visit 4 destinations on average as part of that US trip. So again, there's that opportunity to get some of those international travelers to come to Santa Monica. And Santa Monica can deliver on the experiences that most motivate travelers to travel abroad. And some of those experiences which I've pointed out included food, restaurants, shopping, culture, and scenic beauty, beaches, and relaxation. And with that, thank you all so much. I appreciate you bearing with me as I navigated these slides. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Kimberly Vince Cruz with Destination Analyst. And afterwards today, all of Kimberly's materials will be included in our post-summit materials. You'll be getting a postcard with a QR code. All of those will be inside. And without that, we're going to move on and Right now, I want to welcome to the stage Trevor Cartwright. He's the founding partner of Coraggio Group, a Portland-based destination strategy firm. Trevor helps organizations get clear, get focused, and get moving on their most important strategic and organizational challenges. Trevor has been a destination strategist for state tourism and DMO offices across the country and has worked with his favorite client, Santa Monica Travel and Tourism, for many years. Please welcome to the stage, Trevor Cartwright.
Well, that has a good beat. I think I could dance to it. Thank you for having me today. I'm going to be going pretty quickly just to make up a little bit of time, so if it feels like I'm moving fast, I am. I wanted to just share with you a little bit about the good work that's been going on with the Experience Management Plan. And hopefully many of you have heard about it. Maybe even some of you are actually a part of various committees who are working on it. I thought I'd start first by talking about what the Experience Management Plan is. First, it's important to understand that it's not a strategic plan. It's a roadmap for the future. It's a holistic roadmap that seeks to ensure resident quality of life and visitor experiences. So in your own organizations, when you're doing strategic planning, you might be focused on 2 or 3 years. The Experience Management Plan focuses out 10 years. And so it's going to be a flexible plan designed for flexibility over time. It's important to Santa Monica for a number of reasons. What I'd like to highlight is how it will enable you all to be active stewards and caretakers of Santa Monica's future, ensuring that our community continues to be a great place to live, work, and play for generations to come. This has been quite a journey. This actually started 5 years ago, believe it or not, in 2018. And if you were at the summit last year, and you probably were, you probably heard a little bit about the history, the evolution of the Experience Management Plan. We started in 2018 and 19 doing discovery work, and then that red line happened. We all experienced it. It was called COVID-19, and everything grounded to a stop for about 2 years. The good news is we're back. It's 2022, and the plan is launched. And this is just a screen share of what the plan actually looks like. There's a QR code there. I'm going to show another QR code in a few slides from now, so if you don't get it now, you can maybe pick it up then. But I encourage you to take a look at the plan because ultimately it's all of your plan. You should know about it. You see some colored circles in the screenshot that I shared. I thought it was important to maybe dive in just a little bit, very briefly, on what each of those colors represent. They actually represent the guiding principles that shaped the plan, which are squarely focused on stewardship, sustainability, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And what that means is that every decision we made in the creation of the Experience Management Plan was filtered through each of those. And if a strategic decision that we were about to make didn't map to stewardship, which has to do with focusing on Santa Monica's quality of life, culture and heritage, and natural resources, or if it didn't have something to do with sustainability, which has to do with promoting those decisions and action steps that support sustainable practices, or if it didn't have anything to do with or support ensuring decisions that equitably support the full diversity of the Santa Monica community, we didn't do it. It didn't find itself in the plan. So those were our principles, our guiding principles, if you will, that kept the plan focused and on track and will make it enduring, I think, during the 10 years that I mentioned. These are the 9 strategies that comprise the Experience Management Plan. I won't go through all of these. On the left-hand side are the 4 strategies that are being worked on right now by various committees. They are ensuring Santa Monica is a safe and clean place to live and visit, support livability for the Santa Monica community, promote the diversity of retail, dining, and evening experiences, and highlight cultural happenings. These are the ones we're tackling for the first year, just like in your own business. Certainly our appetites, and when we're thinking about strategy and thinking long-term, we want to do it all. but we realize we can't do it all. So that's why we chose those 4 for the first year, and we'll be picking up the remaining 5 over time as capacity allows. You might be wondering how this is all going to get done. Let me be clear. This isn't Santa Monica Travel and Tourism's responsibility to get done. It's actually all of yours. This was a plan that was created for the community, by the community, and it'll be implemented through a process or a framework called collective impact. Some of you might be familiar with collective impact. It's been around for about 10 or 12 years, and it comes primarily out of the nonprofit industry. The idea is that it pulls together and engages a group of different actors from, if you will, different subsectors of a community and says, hey, how are we all going to get this done together? It leans into a little bit of what our city manager was talking about a little bit ago in terms of all of us locking arms and getting things done. There are about 50 people across the community who are involved in various committees. There's one that is the governance committee. Collective impact requires that there is a governance structure. You can see the names of the governance committee here. I won't read them all here, but many of you are actually in the room today. And then these are the various folks who are on actual strategy committees. Again, each of these strategies, the 4 strategies I just mentioned, are working concurrently as we speak. We launched in November. Here's the first 2 strategies and their respective committee members. Here's the 3rd and 4th strategies with their respective committee members. I just think it's really important because this is a very unusual set of circumstances where you would have an entire community coming together to say, this is our plan and we're going to work on it together. This is some of the committees at work. This is what it looks like. They are not all in person. Some of them are hybrid or virtual entirely. But this is our kickoff back in November, where we started to do the work concurrently with all the different committees. Very quickly, I just want to run through a light progress overview for each of the 4 strategies we're working on right now. For ensuring Santa Monica is a safe and clean place to live and visit, there's many things going on. These are just 3 that you're seeing in front of you. For example, work has been done to set up a de-escalation train the trainer program to extend information to businesses, residents, and directors of security, and also identifying trainer candidates for a session with the police department Sergeant Maury Sumlin. You can see the other examples of success, or at least work in progress, by this committee that is working so hard to get things done. For the next one, supporting the livability for the Santa Monica community, there's been great work around the summarization of work the community organizations are doing to improve community livability and identifying future goals and visions to surface gaps in current livability services and programming. Of course, we're working very closely with the city, our partners there, to make sure that that continues to make progress. The third of 4 strategies we're working on right now, highlighting and leveraging cultural happenings. Some exciting things happening there. In the middle, we've identified a need for a comprehensive and coordinated effort to plan for arts and cultural events surrounding LA 28 Olympics. And you can see the other examples of progress that are taking place there as well. So you can see I'm moving very quickly here. The 4th strategy that we wanted to just highlight some successes on has to do with promoting the diversity of retail, dining, and evening experiences in Santa Monica. Here, there's great work going on around supporting the easing of regulations for short-term businesses by increasing allowable duration of temporary use permits. So there was a lot of research we did around work that can be helpful around that particular area. The next, there you go. The next thing that I'll just end with here is the first quote that is on the first page of the Experience Management Plan is, wherever you go, go with all of your heart. And I think it's apt that the spirit and the theme of today's conference is about kindness. There is a huge act of kindness and a lot of heart that has gone into the creation of this plan. Countless, hundreds of hours of volunteer time going into its execution through the collective impact model. And if any of you are involved, a wholehearted thank you to all of you. This plan is going to take Santa Monica to great places. There aren't many plans like this in the country, so I want to congratulate all of those who came together to create the plan. You are truly pioneers and a model. I am actually going to be talking about it a little bit at IPW next week with Misty's permission. There are a lot of people who want to know about it. And lastly, I will just leave you with, there are a number of things that are urging you to do kind things on the right-hand side of your placemat, the exercise. I would just ask you to write one more in, and that is to get involved. Become engaged with this plan. It is your plan. This is your community and your future, and this plan is certainly at the epicenter of it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Trevor. And Trevor's materials will be included in our post-event postcards that we'll be passing out at the end of the program.
Well, the Pier is a place that you can step out and forget that you're in the city and have it just, you're walking away and leaving the city behind. It's a very special and unique experience. The Pier offers the same thing to everyone, and it is the escape from the city behind you and into a world where you can relax and be yourself and not have to worry about hurrying to the next place or the next meeting or the next destination, but just come out and enjoy a walk on the pier. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the amusement park, enjoy the restaurants. If you're lucky, enjoy the sunset, because that's one of the most extraordinary things at the pier. And that's available to everyone, whether you're local or a visitor. My dream for the Santa Monica Pier is that it continues to be open and available to everybody, all ages, all types, and continues to honor its own history. And it's a place where you can come to have fun, enjoy the entire community. You can enjoy the city, you can enjoy the beach, you can enjoy the pier. There is something here for everyone. The soul of the Santa Monica Pier is founded upon memories. The memories that were created before us and the memories that are still being created today. And as long as the pier can continue making memories, it's a success.
What we offer here in downtown Santa Monica for locals and visitors of all kinds is really anything you could dream of. This is a place where people come together and really experience community. And one thing that makes Santa Monica especially unique is our public space, including the 3rd Street Promenade, which is a place where people come and gather and talk and meet and mingle and enjoy people from all over the world. They just don't make places like Santa Monica. We're right next to the beach. We have amazing weather. We're in Southern California. I feel like this is a completely one-of-a-kind community, and we celebrate it every day. I think downtown Santa Monica has changed significantly, even just in the past 6 months, with the investment that's come here to downtown Santa Monica. Hotels are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into their properties. We have residential that's coming online, new development for business and mixed use. So there's a tremendous amount of money coming into downtown Santa Monica, which means faith in our community here. People know that this is a destination that is really unparalleled in the entire world. So it's nice to see that people are working hard to create just an outstanding destination for our locals and for tourists. There's only one Santa Monica in the entire world, and we're very proud to be here.
All right. right, we've got about 15 minutes left in the program. Thankfully, these La Meridian Delfina cushions are very comfortable, so you're making it. We got about 15 minutes to go. So next, I want to welcome to the stage the Vice Chair of the Santa Monica Travel and Tourism Board of Directors and Chairman of the TMD Committee, Eunice Atala. Eunice is the General Manager for Regent Santa Monica Beach, poised to open in late 2023, the first destination in the Americas for Luxury brand under IHG leadership. He has more than 2 decades of luxury hospitality experience. Eunice was recently awarded the Outstanding General Manager of the Year for 2022 by the California Lodging Association. He also serves on the board for the Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce. He is passionate about community organizations and giving back, and has partnered with our own Santa Monica Cares, the Los Angeles LGBTQ+ Center, Elemental Music, and more. Welcome, Eunice!
Thanks for the intro. A, it makes me feel really old, and B, 2 decades. Next year, I really should be in the back of the room so that I don't have to stand. Thank you for getting the updated photo. The first one from earlier, I actually had color in my beard, so it's a little outdated, but this is what a pandemic does. Hey, unlike a lot of people who spoke earlier today who were born in Santa Monica, grew up in Santa Monica, went to Selma High, I'm a transplant. I've barely been here 3 years. This is the 10th city I've lived in the last 2 decades as a hotel brat, and I'm glad that I'm finally home. So it's an absolute honor to be part of this community. We're very, very excited to, as Evan mentioned, bring back the Regent brand to the Americas. If you're not familiar with the Regent brand, just watch Pretty Woman, and you'll know that Regent Beverly Wilshire was the last Regent hotel in the U.S. Went away in 2006, so we are very excited to bring it back, and for Santa Monica to be the backdrop of this return. So can't wait to have everyone over by the end of this year. Everyone keeps asking, when are you going to reopen? By the end of this year. But thank you for the opportunity. As Evan mentioned, I sit on the board of directors for SMTT, and I also chair the TMD committee with a lot of my colleagues who are in the room. Misty, thank you very much for putting this on, you and your team, and to all the speakers, for some of us nerds in the room, all these statistics, I'm like salivating all over them. So I hope that my team took a lot of photos of the slides. I'm here to introduce someone who really doesn't need an introduction, so I'll make it very, very quick. She and I had a really fascinating conversation about our unique names and how sometimes we don't know if we're a he or a him or a she or a her. So without further ado, Mayor Gleam Davis.
Thank you, Eunice. And today I'm a she. Hello, everyone. I'm Gleam Davis, the mayor of Santa Monica, and I have the unenviable position of going last toward the end of the program. So I appreciate you all sticking around and bearing with me. I want to point out I have several of my colleagues here today, Mayor Pro Tem Lana Negrete. We also had Phil Brock earlier. I guess he had to leave. But we are all committed to making sure that tourism remains a vibrant part of the Santa Monica economy. It's not a week goes by that I don't remind people of the most important statistic you saw up here, which is that if we didn't have tourism in Santa Monica, every household in Santa Monica would have to contribute $1,400 more to our economy. So if you get annoyed when you see a tourist, take out your checkbook. And the other thing I want to do, and this is off script and I'm wasting time, I apologize, but I was so glad you got to hear from our city manager, David White, and our police chief, Ramon Batista. And this is all about kindness. And you heard a lot about wonderful things that are happening here in Santa Monica. And while these two gentlemen certainly serve at the head of the pyramid, they are not doing it alone. We have thousands of city employees, hundreds of employees within our police department. And when you see them, do them a kindness. even if it's just saying hello, even if it's just saying thank you, because they are doing it every day, and I want to tell you they are underappreciated and they are abused on a regular basis. And that's a terrible thing to say, but it happens. We had a car accident in front of our house. The police were there investigating it, and twice within a half hour I stood there and watched. 2 cars drove by and yelled pigs at the traffic officers. And I tell that story not to say we're a bad place. I tell that story to say each and every one of us can counteract that narrative, and we have to do it. Please say thank you. Just say hello. A simple good morning can make a difference in someone's day. They're really working hard. So I'm going to speak very fast. I used to be a high school debater, so I can do it. It's been a hard 3 years, and I'm sure we've all felt the effects of the pandemic, and we know we're going to live with it for years to come. But as we recover, I think it's important to know that our beautiful city stands out again and again and again, and you've heard a lot about what's going on within the city. But we are so resilient, but more importantly, we are kind. As we know from our work, service may be the foundation of the tourism industry and local government, but kindness is what makes the interaction memorable. When someone is kind, you remember it. Last night, a gentleman walking his dog made it a point to say good evening to me, and I'm still basking in the glow of that. I've seen amazing examples of this. In the first few weeks of the pandemic, many businesses, community members, and tourism partners reached out to the city of Santa Monica, eager to share funds and supplies with those in need. And so we created the We Are Santa Monica Fund. And as of December of last year, the fund received more than $1.6 million from local individuals and businesses, fueling $1 million in grants to over 100 small businesses and organizations, and 6,000 food boxes distributed to Santa Monica families in need. And this generous support helped lead to a permanent mobile food pantry, providing a lifeline to many of our city residents. More importantly, Santa Monica voters voted for measures that will invest additional millions of dollars into meeting the basic needs of our community, and most importantly, the most vulnerable members of our city. I've seen individuals, businesses, and tourism partners come together to celebrate and welcome the experience of those whose race, gender, sexual orientation, or gender identity differs from their own. We are an inclusive and welcoming community, and we need to get that message to the world. We don't care who you love, what you look like, how you self-identify. Come here, we will embrace you. Yeah. And as an example of that, we just recently unanimously approved expanded requirements for gender-neutral public restrooms, making strides to better serve people of all genders and gender identities, individuals that require the assistance of a different sex caregiver, or parents with children of different genders. Friendly, generous, considerate. These are the characteristics of what it means to be kind and what I experience in our community every day. Our communications department said, here, I should tell a story about kindness. And I racked my brain to try and think of some monumental act of kindness. And you know what? I gave that up, because it's the everyday kindness that makes all the difference. It's Matt at Shoop's Delicatessen on Main, who, when I go there to have lunch with my dog, brings out a couple of slices of turkey for first dog Sylvie. Right? It's the guys at Alfalfa, even when I don't buy my lunch salad there, who make it a point to come out on the sidewalk and wave at me as I go by and say, hey, Gleam, how you doing? It's the folks at Flair Cleaners who always have a smile for me, even when I bring in really crappy stuff. These are the things that make Santa Monica so special. And it's not the big superhero things that happen, although they do happen here in Santa Monica. But every one of us has the opportunity to be a hero just by being kind to someone later today and every day thereafter. And I guarantee you, when you are kind to people, they remember it. And when you are kind to visitors, they tell the people when they go home about the kindness they experienced in Santa Monica. So the City Council, city staff, and the community know that the way forward must be forged together. So we teamed up to create the Economic Recovery Task Force, which helped create more than 25 programs to aid vulnerable members of our community, keep small businesses afloat, and promote equity in the city's economic recovery. When the pandemic closed businesses overnight, the city quickly introduced a parklet and outdoor dining program to give businesses and customers safe spaces for commerce. It was a rapid lifeline, and now parklets and outdoor dining are a permanent part of life in Santa Monica, an amazing year-round attraction for both residents and visitors, and it's reinvigorated our neighborhood commercial districts. The California League of Cities recently created a video in collaboration with the city about the Economic Recovery Task Force that illustrates these points beautifully, and I think we're going to play it for you now.
Our neighborhoods are defined by our small businesses, by that unique restaurant, that coffee shop, that boutique down the street that our residents love and that people come to visit. We reduced our workforce by 20% within about 2 months of the start of the pandemic, and had to drastically cut back on services at that time based on our staff reductions, based on our capacity, and we immediately knew that our focus had to be on recovery, on supporting our most vulnerable community members, supporting our small businesses. The circumstances allowed for all of our staff to get really creative, and we knew we had to act with urgency, we had to be flexible, we had to work in different ways than we had in the past.
Our wonderful staff here was able to really go through our budget line item by line item and make sure that we were spending money on things that were the high priorities here in Santa Monica, which was keeping people housed, preventing homelessness, having an equitable and inclusive economic recovery.
What we did early on in the pandemic was work with community partners to set up an emergency food pantry in Virginia Avenue Park, which is located in the Pico neighborhood, which is our most economically distressed neighborhood in Santa Monica.
We had a good relationship with a number of the city council members and staff where they could call us and check in how the community's doing. And I think that made all the difference. And I think that helped speed up and put a pantry here within 1 month.
Yo tengo 40 años de vivir en la ciudad de Santa Mónica y ese beneficio me da mucho gusto, primero porque siempre hemos pagado nuestros taxes y es una manera de que también yo pienso que la ciudad piensa en nosotros. Aunque la pandemia haya terminado, hay mucha necesidad. Mi esposo tiene 1 año de estar desempleado, así de que eso nos beneficia mucho a mí y a muchas familias.
Seeing what was happening at the grassroots level inside the community, and simultaneously working as an organization to respond to a need that we know was, a need that existed and still going now, so it's pretty incredible.
If we hadn't been able to have that parklet during the beginning of the pandemic, we would not have survived. Before, we didn't have any outdoor seating and we were much more of an inward-facing business. But now, having the parklet out there, it completely changes the energy on the street. We feel like we know our neighbors more walking by. You see a lot more people, and it just really connects us to the city and the neighborhood much more to have outdoor seating.
If you walk down any street in Santa Monica, you'll see that our restaurants are booming. Main Street in Santa Monica, which was a little quiet before the pandemic, has now blossomed into a major destination for restaurants. If your residents' basic needs are met, then what happens is they remain part of your community and they are a vibrant part of the community. Your best customers for your local businesses are the people who already live there. I am so proud that Santa Monica has come through this in the way it has. It is a testament to our residents, to our businesses, to our staff, that in what was really a very difficult time. But what happened was everyone stood up, they came together, and they said, we're going to get through this. The fact that everyone pulled together really makes me proud to be a Santa Monica resident and sit on the Santa Monica City Council.
And it's also, of course, important to note that the positive economic role that tourism plays in all of this, the value that it brings to Santa Monica. In 2022, more than 8,000 jobs were supported by tourism in our city, which is a 40% increase over 2021. And annual visitor spending was over $960 million, a 28% increase over 2021. But those numbers really don't tell the story. What tells the story is the vibrancy on our streets. When you walk down our streets and you see people, whether it's on the promenade, on the boardwalk, you know this is a fun, exciting place to be. There's been a lot of talk about how do you reinvigorate downtowns. New York Times recently talked about the city as playground. We're the destination playground for the world. And when I think of kindness, though, in terms of being a kind playground, I think about how we manifest another, perhaps unexpected thing, and that is our culture. The Art of Recovery. This program strives to transform our shared environments by engaging artists from the beginning to develop projects that promote economic recovery, social justice, well-being, and community connectedness. From November 2020 to December 2022, $690,000 in grant funding supported 35 artistic projects, 215 artists, and 84 art producers and other creatives. In addition, more than 60 partners were engaged in collaboration on Art of Recovery projects, with 91% of grantees saying that their project connected them to Santa Monica partners they had not worked with before. These strong networks and relationships generated by these connecting artists with community partners will continue to have impacts in our community. And as you heard from some of the other speakers, it's that cultural aspect that will bring more people to Santa Monica. So whether it's painted K-rail outside of a parklet, or whether it's that beautiful Shepherd Ferry mural on the side of the pier side, people should come to Santa Monica because we have natural beauty, but we also have cultural beauty. It takes a special place to realize that a complete and inclusive economic recovery includes art and artists, and the city will continue to listen to them as we come out of the pandemic. Another way this community showed up was, as I said, it taxed itself with Measures CS and GS. Measure CS will help expand services to address homelessness, support and grow our police department to address public safety, and make improvements to the safety and cleanliness of our public spaces. Measure GS creates a new funding stream to support homelessness prevention, affordable housing, and our local schools. And I want to emphasize how critical it is that our voters stood up for us and how important these measures are right now. Our community saw a need and they met it. And that doesn't mean we're not facing continuing major challenges. Interest rates continue to climb. There's a labor shortage, I'm sure as many of you know. Our general fund revenues are still lagging. Revenue growth is steady, but it is slow. And so many city programs and services are still operating at reduced levels. For example, our fabulous libraries. But as you may have learned, the City Council meeting last Tuesday, this year's homeless count counted 926 individuals living on the street. It's devastating because one person experiencing homelessness in Santa Monica is one too many. But Santa Monica's focused its efforts on combating homelessness for decades. And because it's intolerable that people in our city and nation are homeless, we are continuing to address this issue. The imbalance is not just a city problem that we see. It's a regional problem. In fact, it's a national problem. I was just in New York, and they too are suffering with this. But it makes moving the needle on homelessness more difficult. It doesn't know city bounds. It doesn't know county bounds. It doesn't know state bounds. But we are a city that is kind and we care, and that we will work tirelessly, hard to get out this late in the day for me, tirelessly until we have homes for people who need them. Here are some of the city's plans for addressing homelessness because I know it impacts each and every one of you on a daily basis. We are going to expand our street-based services through the C3 Community City County team and expand our police department's help team, which you heard about earlier today, and offer 24/7 services through Samoshell at the front end of the system, and make future investments in affordable housing at the back end. Permanent supportive housing has shown to be the way to solve homelessness. Housing with care, housing with services keeps people housed. Our multidisciplinary street-based outreach team are a proven strategy to address homelessness in the short term. Last year, our local teams made over 10,000 contacts, providing 833 people with direct medical or psychiatric services, and placed 59 into interim or permanent housing. Last year, the city received over 100 new federal emergency housing vouchers, and to date, 45 people have ended their experience of homelessness by moving into homes in Santa Monica and in communities throughout the county. And as we know, preventing someone from becoming homeless is less expensive and less traumatic than housing someone. So we will continue to leverage local, state, and federal resources on eviction protection efforts. In the past year, the city helped 450 Santa Monicans stay housed through our right to counsel and eviction protection programs. And we assisted 480 severely rent-burdened households through the Rent Control Adjustment Relief Program. And using new dollars, we're investing in a comprehensive homelessness strategic plan to align and focus future work in a new Housing and Human Services Department to lead its implementation. Another priority, which I know is important to you, is having a clean Santa Monica, and it must feel safe for everyone. Even with diminished revenues, we've been able to add resources to maintain our incredible public spaces and to address community safety with Chief Batista, agilely redeploying resources based on both crime data and perceptions of safety. All of us want everyone in our community to feel safe, no question about it, and you'll continue to see us relentlessly pursuing this goal. In March of this year, the City Council added 2 new priorities, in addition to the previous 3 priorities of addressing homelessness, a clean and safe Santa Monica, and an equitable economic recovery. And I think these new priorities will add to our reputation in the international tourism community. These new priorities are equity and social diversity and a sustainable and connected community. The City Council has already taken the first steps in forming a diversity, equity, and inclusion office in the City Manager's office and adopting a racial equity statement. We've also adopted a statement against hate and formally apologized to the city's African American residents and their descendants for harms caused by redlining and other systemic inequities, among others. And as for a sustainable and connected community, City Council has adopted aggressive goals to support making Santa Monica sustainable and resilient, including the Climate Action Plan, our zero waste by 2030 goal, water self-sufficiency, which you heard about from our city manager, reducing our city's greenhouse gas emissions, and the electric vehicle master plan. Last year, Santa Monica was certified as a LEED Platinum City, demonstrating leadership and accountability in improving living standards, ensuring everyone has access to healthy, green, and high-performing places to live, work, and play. Again, all of these priorities come down to the theme of connectedness and kindness, and of caring about ourselves, each other, our city, and our world. And not only are they the right things to do, but they make our city a more wonderful place to live, to work, and of course, to visit. And these details are some of the overarching structural work that's going on behind the scenes. But there have been many small kindnesses that have also made a big difference. And that's why we're investing so much as a city in customer service. We're trying to make the city services more accessible, simple, and hiring staff who are kind and helpful problem solvers. The city launched the 311 customer service portal on March 31st, 2021, ensuring community access to information and support during the earliest days of the pandemic. And they are a small but mighty team. Members of the community can email 311@santamonica.gov, download the City of Santa Monica app, it's very easy on your smartphone, or dial 311 from within the city to speak with a live operator who can answer questions or connect people with appropriate city staff. And if you've been one of those who've used the 311 system, as I have on numerous occasions, I'll bet you've been greeted by a kind and patient city employee who listened to your question and got you to the right place. And if you use the app, it's amazing. Not only do they open it up, tell you they've initiated an investigation, and tell you when they've solved the problem. So there are so many other things going on in our community. If you've walked through Thelma Park or any of our other open spaces, such as the 3rd Street Promenade or downtown, you've likely been greeted or had a question answered by an ambassador. I hope no one here has had to call 911 recently, but if you have, I'm hoping you had a pleasant, when you're calling 911, pleasant may not be the right word, but a positive experience with your dispatcher. If you've stayed at a hotel or eaten in one of our world-class restaurants, we've honored here today, I know you'll be treated with the utmost kindness. I eat out a lot, and I know on a daily basis I certainly am. If you've ridden the Big Blue Bus, we have the most wonderful bus operators who always give you a smile and a kind word. And I have to say, some of our local retailers really do a good job of making you feel welcome, even if you're just browsing. And there's the spirit of generosity of donating time and money that is so apparent at the beginning of the pandemic, but is carried through in our post-pandemic world. So many examples come to mind, but to name just a few, we recently had the Arts and Literacy Festival in Virginia Avenue Park, and it was an entire community effort. Proper hotel staff volunteered at the festival as part of their Live Proper, Give Proper initiative. The volunteers helped primarily with a cardboard construction zone, where they assisted children in building structures with cardboard boxes. Or there's the local police officer, Officer Angel, who volunteers every week to do fitness activities with kids in the after-school program. City staff also join up with staff from Activision and other companies in the Next Gen Mentor Program, a 6-week mentorship program put on by Santa Monica Chamber Foundation and the Santa Monica College for students of colors to get them high-value mentoring from business professionals. Everywhere you look, people in Santa Monica are helping other people. So I want to wrap up by mentioning that if it's been a while since you've really gotten out and walked around Santa Monica, or if you've not been feeling connected perhaps because of COVID, please get out. May is Bike Month, and there's no better way to experience Santa Monica than on a bike. I'm getting an electric tricycle for my birthday. I'm very excited because it says here 2 wheels. I'm going to be on 3. It's also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and there's a slate of events happening throughout the city, including a performance in the Rhythm and Spice event at Ken Gensler Square on May 23rd. I'll be speaking there if you're not tired of me yet, but there will be wonderful food trucks and dancing and cultural activities around lunchtime. I think it's 11 to 3, Anuj, is that correct? 11 to 3 on May 23rd, open to the public, have some delicious food and enjoy some beautiful cultural activities. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month, and May is a busy month, as you can tell. But there's programming throughout the city, including several ideas exchange events today and tomorrow, where community members and experts will come together to come up with behavioral health solutions for our community. That's happening at the Annenberg later today, and if you look on the city website, you'll see there's 2 more sessions coming up. And tomorrow evening, I know we're all excited about Heather McKee, who wrote The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. And she will be speaking at the John Adams Auditorium. And next month is Pride Month, when this beautiful city gets even more beautiful. We're so fortunate to live in, work in, and visit Santa Monica. I look forward to working with each and every one of you to make our vision of a loving, inclusive, beautiful community a reality. Because when we do that, every person in the world will want to come here. And when they do, we will welcome them with open arms. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Good day. I hope you're enjoying the summit so far, and I encourage you to join me, Sarah Anderson, to learn more about the Australian and New Zealand markets at the breakout sessions directly following the full program today. A couple of items I'll cover will include how Aussies and Kiwis are travelling differently in 2023 and why you should be targeting travellers from down under. My colleagues and I are geared up to provide you with the information that you need to ensure a successful future for you and Santa Monica. Following the main program, just step next door for a trip around the world with Santa Monica Travel and Tourism.
Hello, I'm Steffi Ahlers from Germany. We have so much information to share with you directly following the session today. In fact, did you know that Germans have an average of 6 weeks vacation per year? So no wonder we count as one of the largest outbound travel markets in the world. We just love to travel. Our bookings from Germany to Santa Monica are on the upswing again, and will hopefully be back to 2019 level very soon. So please be sure to remain after the closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay,
We'd like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors up on the screen. Thank you to our smoothie bar sponsor, Noble Studios. I hope you were able to grab their delicious signature drink, the Noble Wild Berry Smoothie. And a very special thank you to Trevor and his team at Coraggio Group, and our dear, dear friends at Datify. Hook up with them if you haven't already. And our amazing partner, Vio. Thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. Now, she ran to the stage, but we can't leave her out. For over 30 years, our president and CEO, Misty Kearns, has been a resident and champion of Santa Monica, a long storied career within the tourism industry. She cemented her place in the community, joining the Tourism Bureau over 26 years ago. It's hard to believe at 29, she's still doing it. Over the years, Misty has become a respected leader within the tourism industry, not only sitting on many boards and commissions, but helping create many. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our president and CEO, Misty Kearns.
Thank you, and I definitely feel the kindness in the room, and it brings me so much joy to see everyone here today. We're back, right? Let's just give ourselves a round. Thank you again to our hosts here at La Meridian Delfina. We appreciate you all being here. I'm going to wrap this up as quickly as I can. As you know, our keynote speaker, Carolyn Patet, and her team work tirelessly on behalf of California, so know that extra money that your customer is paying is going to good use. I've worked alongside Carolyn for nearly 30 years. We've traveled thousands of miles together, and everywhere we go, nothing makes me prouder in the sea of the destination to say that I'm from Santa Monica, so thank you for that as well. You also heard from City Manager David White, our Chief of Police, and Mayor Gleam Davis. They, and it's been mentioned before, join a very hardworking workforce that I don't think gets enough credit, so I'd really like to take a moment again for police, fire, city staff, and all of you, because you deserve the credit too. Let's just give ourselves a round of applause. We also heard from Trevor, who's given us a roadmap for 10 years. I just hope I can follow the map. Never good at that. Mayor Davis touched on tourism stats that give us all hope as we move forward and leave the past 3 years behind us. On the screen, you can see some of those stats. One of my goals and my team's goals, as well as yours, is to increase those jobs again. We're at 8,000 now. We've got a ways to go with another 4,000 at least, but know that we're dedicated to that. You heard from Lauren earlier about forecasts, and we're only looking to increase those. I don't know about you, but it gives me a lot of hope. It's been 1 year since our pilot program, the Tourism Improvement District, which some of you may not know about. This voluntary program is funded by 5 hotel properties that doesn't replace the city's clean and safe efforts, but is focusing on high traffic areas close to the beach. The program has been very successful in creating new jobs for those transitioning from our streets back into the workforce, and are staffed by individuals from Chrysalis. They work to help people prepare for, find, and keep a job. In the first year, they removed over 3,000 bags of trash, painted and removed over 400 graffiti marks, 900 bills and stickers, and a stat I'm most proud of, their team has referred over 300 unhoused people to services to help them. That's kindness in action. This is just a small taste of the detailed data that we're providing in our 22-23 fiscal report, where you can see line by line those stats that are important to all of us. You can see the report up on your screen. I encourage you to take a copy on your way out, or download the information from the QR code on the postcards that the team is passing out currently. Please take advantage of the data. I get calls from most of you around October, November, panicked about what's it gonna look like. Lauren's gonna be here, right over here, to do a deep dive and research if you want for the next hour. Our international reps will be in the room behind us, so please make sure you stick around for a few minutes. You'll see familiar faces on the next slide. This is our team in action over the past year, including some photos from our UK activation in Brighton and on their historic pier. I'm so proud of our team and our UK agency. This activation won us 2 Gold Smarty Awards, competing against some huge brands like Vodafone and L'Oreal. It's wonderful recognition of all the hard work that this team does. And again, Josiah Citron put himself out on the road with us in both Brighton and France last year, and we really thank you for that as well. Next week, our PR, sales, and marketing team will be heading to that show you heard Carolyn talking about, IPW. This is the largest tour operator show, international tour operator show in domestic soil in the U.S. And on the screen, you'll see a preview of our booth this year. We've already secured over 168 travel trade appointment slots that run over a 3-day period. We're 95% full as of last week, and with a full day of media one-on-one interviews as well. Then we're off with Chef Raphael and one others we can't announce quite yet, and we'll be going to the UK and France and back to Brighton again to share the importance of visiting Santa Monica, and also celebrating with our sister city in Brighton that many of you were aware of from last year. We have so much coming up. I could keep you here another hour. I'm not going to do that, I promise. But I'd like to introduce you to the people that do make it all happen, my team. I've never been prouder of this group of people that you see on the screen. Many are new, many have been here for a while, but they are fantastic individuals and they work so hard on behalf of this beautiful city, logging hundreds of miles, countless hours, giving up their evenings and their weekends. Thank you. I've already given them a round of applause, so I won't ask again, but okay. While hospitality and customer service are the backbone of our industry, kindness is the foundation. And now more than ever, we need to focus on the future, and kindness matters. That's why I'm really proud to talk about our nonprofit foundation, Santa Monica Cares. It was founded in 2017 with the sole purpose of the tourism industry giving back to this community. Since our inception that got railroaded by COVID, we've been able to raise $40,000 in donations that have been given directly to other local nonprofits here in Santa Monica. On the screen is the board of directors, and I could not ask for a better group of professionals and residents to represent our efforts. Now, do you want to give back and have some fun? Yeah. Our next fundraising event is coming up on October 25th. It'll be our second annual volleyball tournament, Volloween. Last year, our goal was to raise $2,500. With your support, we raised over $4,000. Let's work together this year and double that number. And by the way, last year's winners were 2 young men from the Santa Monica Police Department, who you can see in this photo. Unfortunately, Chief from the fire department had to leave, so he's gonna miss this. But we need to get the competition going. Hotels against hotels, restaurants, city departments, who knows, maybe the fire department will even win this year. So scan that QR code and please sign up today. Again, I really encourage you to stay for the breakout sessions. It's nothing that is programmed, they're discussions. You can learn more about what we are doing. Again, they'll be across the way. The gals in the back, if you guys can just wave your flags and where you're gonna be so people know where to find you. And we're thrilled to have them here today. It's unusual. We're heading over to that trade show, so we brought them in a few extra days early. We're also serving lunch, so stick around if you're gonna go to the breakouts. Only for those that go to the breakouts. I'm looking right at you, Jeff Jarrow. Only get food if you go to the breakout. Seriously though, we are all so lucky to live and work in this community, and with collaboration, discussion, and just a little bit of kindness, there isn't anything we can't achieve working together. Many ways to work with us. You're gonna see a QR code on here, download that. As you leave, please make a note of kindness on the placemats. We really wanna take some of that to share in our materials, so even if you're gonna hang around for a couple minutes or go to the breakout, fill them out and leave them for us, please. As you heard, kindness is a vibe, and it's us in this room and the people in this community that provide that vibe. So when you leave, pass it on. Stop and tell somebody they look nice today or wish them a good day. I promise you it's gonna make you feel as good as it will that person. If you are traveling this weekend, please travel responsibly. Thank you again. Appreciate you sticking with us through the overtime. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.